I learned that. Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Black Spinner Music Vidcast. And with me is my co-host Al Horta. How's it going, Al?
It's going great, man. Glad to be doing some shows again. It looks like besides last week, we were just me and you. We haven't had some guests on in a while,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and we
It
got
was
two
a
great
while.
ones.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've had guests. I think it was a month. We were going solo, and now we missed our guests. So we're getting back to getting guests. Today's subject are top 10 nighttime albums. Now I know that might sound confusing, but it's whatever we like to listen to at night. It's either a comforting album or an album of a scary album or just an album that brings in the heebie-jeebies to you, or it can also be a romantic album. It's whatever y'all choose, whatever y'all like to listen to. But let's introduce our panel. With us tonight, we got Metal Mike. How's it going, Metal Mike? DJ Metal Mike.
Yeah. Well,
What's up, Al?
that's my handle at Cranium Radio. So I
Yeah.
kind of go by that because let's be honest, there's a ton of metal mics out there. So to
Oh,
differentiate myself, I felt like, yeah, DJ Metal Mic, like, doctor,
right.
or
Well, I
professor
only
or
know
whatever,
one Metal
it's like,
Mike, so
huh?
I only know one Metal Mike.
Well, thank you, man. But you'd be surprised. I've ran into quite a few, man. So I was like, well, you know what? To differentiate myself, I'm going to, just like it's DJ Metal Mic. Yeah. I like the sound of it.
Great. And you can be caught on Cranium Radio on Friday nights, right?
Yeah, Fridays from
Your own
8 p.m. to
website.
1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I play what's really cool about Cranium, which is different from what TMS was doing,
Right.
is Cranium, anything goes. So
Oh wow.
we have a variety of DJs that play all kinds of music. Yeah, it's all art and for the ears and mind, as my friend Jeff, who I was telling you about off. Well, I wouldn't say we were off camera, but before we started recording,
Right.
when he used to be with TMS, and him and another guy started Cranium, and he kind of wanted to expand. I mean, he loves metal and hard rock and all that stuff, but he loves a lot of other kinds of music too. And he does 4 shows. We have like a bunch of different DJs that bring different things to the table. Some of it's really, really heavy stuff. Some of it with me, because it's Metal Mike, I still mostly play hard rock and metal of
Right.
all subgenres and styles. Like, it's not unusual for me to play Led Zeppelin and then it goes right into a newer band like Orbit Culture, which is a really heavy
Right.
band, like heavy, uh, extreme metal, really, but I like to, and there's always the thing I always loved about metal with all the subgenres is even if there were certain subgenres I'm not a big fan of, I've always been able to find a few bands in those. Like, for instance, the subgenre that came to be known as new metal, which I never did care for that name because I'm like, yeah, but what happens when time passes? It's not new anymore, but I always
Yeah.
kind of, to me, I prefer to call it alternative metal, but there's bands like the Deftones. Love the
Yeah.
Deftones. There's certain bands where there's other ones where I'm like, I'm not real big on them, but I like to mix it up. Like, it's not unusual for me to play Deftones and then follow it up with Rat and then go into Slayer or whatever. And another thing I really like to do is play a lot of newer bands too,
Oh cool.
because there's a lot of great new music being produced, especially in the hard rock and heavy metal subgenres that nobody really knows about, so I'm always trying to push that.
All right. Well, we'll keep on going because we really enjoy it. And also joining us today, Kate has not been on Black Spinner, but me and her have been working on our other podcast called Three Shots Down. So we've been doing that a lot lately. So thanks a lot for joining us here at Black
Been
Spinner.
busy.
Thank you. Yes, you've been busy with your stand up routines.
Which is awesome, by the
Yes,
way.
yeah, it's great.
I'm
Thank
proud of
you.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're doing very well.
Mike did it before too. He knows
Oh
what it's
yeah.
like.
Oh yeah, man. I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of I kind of wore my welcome out. This comedy, the manager didn't like me. I guess she felt like my material was too
Oh no, yeah. You get some people that are
extreme,
like too woke
and
and they're hard to
I was just like, lady, I'm still doing amateur. I'm trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
the crowd liked me. They, but she was like, and one night she just caught me in the wrong mood, and which is irony of ironies, considering what eventually we found out about him. But I said, if you want family style comedian, if you want fucking Bill Cosby, you should have fucking booked him, lady. I'm Mike Tyler. I'll do what the fuck I want.
With Bill Cosby.
And she was like, you're out of here. And the area I live in, that was really the only comedy club.
Oh, bummer. Yeah.
So I kind of fucked myself, but
yeah,
whatever, man. I'm I'm a podcaster and an online radio personality. It all, worked itself out.
Yeah. And you keep us entertained, Metal Mike.
But yeah, I mean, she, but it just kind of irked me because I'm going, look, man, I mean, and like I said, the audience was laughing. I mean, not to brag, but my first few times, I got standing ovations. So Daddy must have been fucking doing something right. I'm just saying,
How's it going, Al? Al.
Are you muted, Al?
Sorry about that.
That's right.
I had to sneeze before. And I muted, and I forgot to unmute. Everything's going great, man. Just been real busy with work. Took a half day off of work on Monday. Took a drive to Orlando to go see Rolling Stones with my family.
Nice.
Yeah. That was really awesome.
Was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even believe Mick Jagger is a fucking alien, man. I mean, the guy still, he defies the age. He's still moving, not running around like he used to, but I give him a pass. He's 80, man. So, but he's still moving like a motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
So, man, the band sounded great. The set list was great. And I took Kayla, Tina, and we went with some friends. So I'm getting my daughter into seeing all the heavy hitters before they're gone. You know what I mean? So I keep telling her, you can grow up one day and you can say that you saw Paul McCartney, you saw you saw Elton John. You know what I mean? All these guys. So
she gets to name drop.
Yeah.
Well, hell yeah. I mean, Al, I've always told, I say that on the Metal Mike show all the time. Like, if you're going to go see some of these legacy acts, you need to do it soon, because there was a few people where I was like, oh, I'll go next time. And I never got to see him. Tom Petty breaks my heart. Never got to see him. There's a few, and I still yet to see the Stones. Now, my co-host on the Metal Mike show, Bill Roseberry, Bildo, him and his dad went to see the Stones, and he filmed a lot of it. I mean, he just amazes me. I mean, the man's like 80 years old, and he's like in incredible shape, and it's like, I don't know how he does it, man.
Yeah,
I don't. I mean,
who, Mick?
Yeah.
Well, I was reading up, and he does a lot of yoga. He
works out. He clearly takes care of himself.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're a guy that stature and you have the kind of money you have, you can have all the best chefs cooking the best food, trainers, things like that. Sure. That there's luxuries, but he takes advantage at least of the luxury. He doesn't sit around and get fat. I mean, the guy's never had an ounce of fat in his life.
No.
So, I mean, but to still be alive after all the shit they've been through.
I know.
Especially Keith.
Right.
But Keith is still up there, man. He's still doing it, man.
Yeah. Hey,
Keith wears it on his face, though.
Yeah,
but that's all right. Hey, Al, so how many songs did they play off the new album? Do you know?
3.
3?
Yeah, one of the songs that Keith sang was one of the new songs.
Okay.
And then Angry, which was the first single, and then I can't remember the name of the other one, but they played 3 songs off the album. Which is a good album. I like which for them is a good representation of the new material. And people actually were into it. Like, I didn't see a lot of people leave. Usually when bands play new music, everybody goes for the beer or bathroom or whatever.
Right.
But it wasn't really like that, man. I think people are just realizing this might be the last, we've been saying it might be the last time, the last 25 years.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, let's face it, they're in their 80s now.
80s.
And you never know. So
one of the sad things about it was when Bill originally bought his tickets, it was before the pandemic.
Oh, and Charlie.
Unfortunately, and his dad never got to see the Stones, and as much as they had a great time, it kind of bummed him out that Charlie Watts had passed away in the
During that
meantime
time.
during the pandemic, so they didn't get to see Charlie, man. But
Yeah.
still,
I got to see the Stones before the pandemic in 2019.
nice.
So I saw them with Charlie, and then now, Steve Jordan is on the drums, who's played with Keith in his solo band anyway. So
Right?
it's
Yeah.
it's almost
Bill
like a
told
family.
me that.
Yeah,
Well, it's
and
interesting because they're on my bucket list, man. I got to see Paul McCartney. I
yeah,
got to see him a few years ago, and he was amazing.
yeah.
I've gotten to see quite a few. I mean, I've seen Buddy Guy twice. I've seen a lot of the legacy acts. We're going to be seeing John Cafferty here pretty soon.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I've always been like, hey, man, if you're going to go see these guys, saw Willie Nelson about a year ago, too.
Yeah, I'd still like to see him actually.
Yeah, so
I've seen him a lot.
And he's 90, right?
Great.
Yeah.
91.
You never know it, man.
Wow.
He just turned 91.
Wow.
And
Anyway, so we had a good time. So
yeah, he had said like 10 years ago that he was just going to tour around his home, just around there. But I don't think he remembers he said that because he's
Nope.
all over the place. I don't think he remembers he said that he was just going to tour around the Austin, Texas area, and he's all over the place.
yeah,
But I was able to see the Stones. I think it was in 2000 or 2001. It was a very good show. But y'all know how big Reliant Stadium would be. Where the Texans play. Well, their stage was on that side. I was on this end of the end zone, on the very last row where the glass was on my back. That was pretty far back there, but it was a good time.
if you want to, before we start, if you want to check out the show, I went to it. It is up on my YouTube channel. I did record it.
Okay.
And I was in the upper level, but I got like a nice, just wide stage shot. I didn't get like close-ups or anything because I was just kind of far from the stage show. I just got a nice wide stage shot of the whole stage show, so you can see the stage production and everything like that. But it's still the whole set. I mean, the sound is good on it. If you just want to throw it up, listen to it, while you're doing something, and you don't even have to look at it or whatever. So just to get an idea,
Just to hear it too, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, Andy, go ahead, brother.
Oh well, I was going to ask you who opened up for them, because there's different people opening up for them in different areas.
Country guy named Tyler Childers. Yeah, he's a new kind of up and coming guy.
Okay.
I've been like reading up that Stones have really been like choosing like up and coming newer acts, which is like actually very cool of them.
It
they're
is.
giving some limelight to some of the up and coming instead of getting like somebody that's already known. But Tyler was good, man. My wife Tina was really into him because she loves country. She's a big country fan. But I enjoyed him too. He was really good, man. He's kind of more of an old soul, like kind of a crooner.
He sounds like the old guys.
Yeah, he sounds like the older guys, like older country guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not like that newer, like kind of bro country thing. He's not that at all.
None of that pop crap.
Yeah, no, he wasn't like that at all. So
yeah.
I mean, if you like that stuff, that's cool. But I mean, there's all different styles of country now. So
yeah,
it's like country's like metal. There's all different subgenres of it now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's so much now. Yeah, over here in Houston, I didn't get to go to this tour, but Gary Clark Jr. had opened up for them, which I've seen him several times.
He's incredible.
He's very fun to listen to.
I've seen Gary Clark Jr.
Yeah. He's a real cool guy. All right, guys. Before we hit our topic tonight, let's talk about what's spinning. Mike, what have you been listening to lately, man?
Well, one of the things I've been listening to a lot is this band. They're new. They're from Lawrence, Kansas. They describe themselves as epic doom opera metal.
Ooh,
wow!
Imagine Pink Floyd meeting Black Sabbath with the girls from ABBA singing.
Wow!
And you would have this band. They Watch Us from the Moon.
Oh wow!
They got an album out that came out about a year ago called Cosmic Chronicles: The Ascension. They're phenomenal. I did a full-blown interview with them when I was still with that metal station.
Oh,
and
okay.
Great band. I mean, they're so different. I mean, nobody sounds like them and they don't sound like anybody else. And the way I described it, it almost always intrigues me. Oh, I got to check that out. So yeah, that's what I'm currently spinning. I just got the new Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats album,
Great band.
but I haven't had a chance to really listen to it yet.
Love them, man.
And another band that a fellow DJ of mine who used to be a DJ at TMS, Samuel Wetz, does a show every he does a show before my show. It's Sam's Rock and Metal Odyssey. I believe it's from like 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And his show is pretty cool because he's all over the place, man. Let's see, what's the name of this band? They're called oh man, I had it. Hold on a minute. I'll find them. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But that's all right. In the meantime, Kate, what have you been listening to or spinning?
So I've been listening to a lot of comedy, checking out old specials and things. I think that's good inspiration. Music wise, we did our Sam Cooke episode, so I went through a lot of Sam Cooke for that on our 3 Shots Down episode. I went heavy on Smashing Pumpkins last weekend. The weekend before that, I went hard on like Michael Jackson. Like I do these weird things where I'm like, oh, I haven't listened to this in a long time, and then I'll just blaze through like a couple of albums. Trying to think of what else I've been getting down on. I mean, it's hard because I listen to so much stuff, but then I went heavy the other day on Clarence Carter. I probably listened to like 20 Clarence Carter songs.
Oh, wow, okay. Cool.
Oh, that band, Andy, is called Castle Rat. They have a female singer who kind of looks like Red Sonja. She wears chainmail and everything. And they describe themselves as quote unquote barbarian doom metal.
Wow.
Very cool, though. I like them, man. I was like, wow. All right.
Red Sonja, that's cool.
I'm telling you, dude. Yeah. I mean, I was like, whoa. You know, she's got a sword and everything. I was like, but she, I mean, in the band, she actually plays guitar and sings. But they're really, really cool.
That was Bridget Nielsen that played Red Sonja, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bridget Nielsen. And then she hooked up with Flavor Flav. Hey, Al. What have you been spinning, man?
Couple things, man. I've just spotlight. Since and I haven't done the episode yet, but I gave my daughter a few weeks ago the homework assignment to listen to Depeche Mode Violator. So I've actually been listening to Violator myself. I mean, such a great album, and this may tie into our theme tonight. You know, maybe not. Myself and Eddie Canestracci on Friday, we're gonna go see Pat Travers. So I've been spinning his live album. It's gonna be Pat Travers, Cactus, and Foghat. Those 3 bands.
Oh wow!
So they're playing here in Clearwater. So me and him, we're gonna go check it out. We're gonna hang. You know, me and Eddie like to hang beforehand, get dinner, and have a couple drinks, and go check out his show. And he's excited. He's been like deep diving into Pat Travers. He's never really done that. And he's awesome. So I'm totally like, you know, I mean, he's gonna like it, man, because Pat puts on a great show. I've seen him before, and that's
another one on my bucket list.
Yeah, Pat Travers is awesome. I've seen him twice. And then I just got the new Sabbath box set, Anno Domini, the Tony Martin era albums. I actually haven't cracked this open yet, but I just wanted to show it because I just got it in the mail like 2 days ago. And it's all the Tony Martin era albums, besides Eternal Idol, but that was a different label. That's why I wasn't included in this box set.
Oh, okay.
But it's got 4 albums in here: Headless Cross, Tear, Cross Purposes, and Forbidden. Forbidden is a new remix that Tony Iommi did, and I'm looking forward to listening to it. I haven't listened to it yet, but yeah, it's cool, man. If it's Sabbath, I gotta have it. It's one of my favorite bands, so you know. Metal Mike knows, Andy knows, Kate knows.
Hey, man, my all-time favorite band besides
Sabbath is my number 2. Rush is my number 1.
Remember the Sabbath and Keep It Black.
Yeah, there you go.
What I always
Rush
say.
is my number 1. Sabbath is my number 2, but I love Black Sabbath.
Hey, I love me some Rush, though, too.
But that's what I've been spinning. How about you, Andy?
Just This past Sunday I was on the BS sessions with Mark and Jerry, and we were going through the discography of Metallica. It was a big panel. It was me, them two, and Mooger Fugger, and Travis, and of course Joseph. So we started on them, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do a deep dive into Metallica. So for the past 2 days, I've just been listening to Kill 'Em All for the past 2 days. Here inside the house, in the car, streaming on my phone. And then on my way home from work, I threw in. I'll probably be on Ride the Lightning for the next 2 days. I'm gonna try and do all their albums, deep dive them that way. But you know, when I was first introduced to Metallica, I was introduced to them through And Justice for All. So Kill 'Em All, I thought was a little bit too heavy for me, so I stayed away from it because I really don't like that much heavy music. But now that I'm older, this fits in almost perfect to what I'm listening to right now. It's not as heavy as I thought, maybe because I've been listening to heavier music, so this kind of fits in the piece. It's a very good album. I love it. I think it's gonna
I'll tell you what, though,
go
man.
up in my Metallica ranking.
I'll tell you what, man. If you were there in real time, though, when that album was released, that was some of the heaviest shit you would ever hear, man.
Yeah.
You know, just put yourself back in 1983. You know,
Hey, dude, it was around December of 83, maybe January 84. And my big brother, Dave, who was a huge influence on me, of course, as I've mentioned before.
Yeah.
And of course, there was my surrogate big brother who lived across the street, neighbor, friend of ours, Kevin, and then my big cousin Mitch. But his buddy, Dave Grindstaff, brought over Metallica, Kill 'Em All, and Slayer, Show No Mercy. And I was already, like I said, I was lucky because I had a big brother, because I had those guys. I got into heavy, hard rock and heavy music at a very, very early age. You know, I mean, I was 5 years old in early 76 when I heard Kiss Alive, and that was the album that put me down the rabbit hole, so to speak. You know,
Right.
The reason why we got in all those other bands is because Kevin and Mitchell were like, guys, Kiss are cool, but there's other bands. And they introduced us to all these other great bands. When I first heard those albums, I wish I could say, oh, yeah, I recognize the brilliance. No, my reaction is like, what in the hell is this new sound that I have to take in? And do I like it? You know, like Slayer scared the shit out of me, and Metallica, because I didn't think anybody played faster than Motorhead at that time. You know what I'm saying? So it blew my mind. My 13-year, I was like, what? You know, like, and it took me a little while to acclimate, but once I got it, and it just came at the right time. Like once I embraced thrash metal, you know, I was getting a little disillusioned with some of the traditional metal guys, you know. And again, it's just my opinion and my timeline, but you know, Priest with Turbo and Ozzy with Ultimate Sin. And while I think Ultimate Sin's got a lot of good songs, I'm not a fan of the production. And and then even the glam metal started softening and it wasn't as heavy as it was when it started out. So I was getting so thrash metal came at me at the right time. And then when I still had a hunger for, more street level, old school hard rock, bands like Guns N' Roses and Tesla came along. So it fed that, you know what I mean? Because I was starting to get kind of disillusioned with, not all of them, of course, there's still some glam metal bands that I love this day, Rat being one of them. But I was getting really like, man, I don't know about what's with this, man. It seems like it's more about image than it was about the music, at least to me. Now, I know a lot of people actually love that stuff, and man, they sold like gangbusters. But yeah, so for me, the thrash metal thing was like, oh my God, like I said, when I first heard it though, and I've been that way about it. It's the way I was when I first heard death metal. It's the way I was even like my nephew's really into power metal, and he played me Sabaton, and I'm like, what's this? Why is that dude singing so weird? And what's with this rah? Like, I feel like I'm about to go to foot. I don't know.
A pep rally.
Yeah, but now I respect it. Also, the thing that I do like about Sabaton is, I mean, really, they're part of the big four of power metal, but they're almost kind of like started their own thing with what I call historical metal, because
Huh.
almost every one of their albums is about historical stuff, especially like World War One. You know, they've seen about a lot of battles and stories of courage and bravery,
Oh, I never
and a lot of
really
these different
dove
wars and
into their
stuff. And they do
stuff.
an amazing cover of Motorhead's 1916, because they totally make it theirs. And even the video, man, kind of, because it's them walking through the streets of Birmingham, and as they're walking, you got all the World War One soldiers following, but then as the camera pans back, there's World War Two. There's knights in armor. It's veterans and people who died in all the wars,
Right.
you know. And then there's these people, and they're carrying a flag and a picture of Lemmy and the rest of the original Motorhead. And then where they walk past in the doorway, you got Mickey D and the last guy the last lineup of Motorhead. And
Yeah.
it almost brought me to tears, man, you know? So, but I mean, I'm still not like a huge fan, but I do respect them, because the one thing you can say about Sabaton, man, nobody sounds like them and they don't sound like anybody else. I'm here to tell you, but it's very, like first time I heard it, I was like, whoa, what is this? And not jarring and like, oh, that's too brutal, but just like, man, this is really fucking weird, you know. But that's the best way I can describe them, though. They're very, they're different. But my nephew, man, he loves them.
I'll check them out. All right, guys, let's get started with our countdown from 10 to 1. Our top nighttime albums. All right, we'll go with Mike, Kate, Al, and myself. So let's get started. Number 10, Mike.
All right, number 10. And this was harder than I thought, because I got so many honorable mentions, and then just ranking them, I was like, oh, God, you know. So this is how I feel today.
All
Next year, if we were to do this, it could be a totally different list. But my number 10 is Fleetwood Mac Rumors. My mom and dad were big fans of Fleetwood Mac, and many of my early memories of music, it's not just the, you know, the heavy stuff or the hard rock. It was my parents, you know, they had a Kenwood stereo with the turntable, and you know, Fleetwood Mac was one of my mom and dad's favorite bands. And I mean, this and the other Fleetwood Mac album, which was just titled Fleetwood Mac, they played religiously. So I just have a lot of fond memories, same as I do with Johnny Cash or John Denver. My mom loved those. She loved the Everly Brothers, you know, all that stuff, man. I grew up on it, you know, and it just brings a lot of, so it's definitely comfort food for me. I mean, anytime, you know, I listen to this album, it takes me to a place and time. And quite honestly, a lot of these records do. And that's kind of, I mean, you could have been like top 10 nostalgic albums,
Right.
but it is a lot of music that I do listen sometimes when I want to chill, or, you know, maybe get a little baked before I get, you know, I chill,
Yeah.
you know, kind of stuff. So yeah, Fleetwood Mac Rumors.
Good one. That's a good start. That's a good album. Kate, number 10.
Mine's a similar vibe in all my picks, that it's like chilling or drinking after dark and having some cigarettes. Maybe some spooky stuff mixed in too, because you guys know I love my spooky stuff. My number 10, I went with Nina Simone. I Put a Spell on You. That has a spooky vibe to it too. You know, I Put a Spell on You has
That's a
so
great
many
song.
covers, but her voice in that, and then she does this Niketempa. It's a cover of a Jacques Brel song. Jacques Brel is like their Frank Sinatra in France, and it's Don't Leave Me, Don't Leave Me. That's like all the lyrics, Don't Leave Me. Her cover is so gorgeous. You guys know how her voice is. She
Oh
just
yeah.
had the best smoky voice. So that's a lot of these are going to be kind of chilling, but there's a little spooky vibe mixed in there with that I Put a Spell on You, because it's that Screamin' Jay Hawkins cover of that. Excellent.
Well, I love the original. I love
Yeah.
that song. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Good
Yeah.
pick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Al, what you got?
CCR did that good too. I like.
Oh,
CCR.
what'd you say, Andy? I'm sorry.
Oh no! I don't. I just added that CCR really did good covers.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, they actually have a good cover of that. That's funny to think, because it's so not in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, but they really
Yeah.
do jam that
Yeah.
song.
Hell yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. I forgot about that. That is a really good cover of that.
That's why I said earlier I'm really looking forward to seeing John
Yeah, I'm
Fogerty because
excited.
I've
Yeah,
never seen CCR, and I mean, let's be honest, he really kind of was
Yes,
CCR. He
yeah.
wrote all
that'll
the
be really
songs.
good.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen John Fogerty a couple times. He's
yeah.
amazing as well. For his age,
awesome,
man, he
Yeah.
just rocks, man.
I've seen
awesome.
him twice, and he
That'll be cool.
jams. Damn, he jams.
He is
I
so good.
Yeah.
I think
Another one of my mom and dad's favorite bands.
yeah. The second time we saw them, he played Green River from beginning to end, and
Wow.
dude was just dude jams on that guitar,
Hmm.
and I think he has like his sons with him and a daughter,
Hmm.
and so it's like a family thing. And
Same thing with Willie Nelson.
yeah, Willie, Willie, the promise of the real.
His kids are talented as hell.
They
Lucas
are.
and Micah. Micah's band is totally different vibe, and they have a band called Insects and Robots. That one's very different, not what you would think at all.
Yeah,
Lucas is more like indie folk, but both of them talented
yeah,
dudes.
yeah, they are.
Yeah. Yeah, Promise of the Real though, they just posted a thing on Instagram. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but they're gonna break up after this tour.
Oh, are
Or
they?
they're still gonna work together eventually in the future, but they're all going on their own solo stuff. And I'm like, damn it.
Oh, yeah, because they backed up Neil Young on a couple of albums and
It's
several
Uncle
tours.
Neil. A
Yeah, with
bunch of
Uncle
his
Neil.
tours, they backed up Uncle Neil. They did all the music for A Star Is Born.
Oh,
They've
did
done a
they?
ton of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So
Yeah, that's
it
great.
sucks
They
because
turned
I
it.
had tickets for them like I think it right when the pandemic popped off. I had tickets for their Detroit show and they
Yeah,
canceled it, and then they've never booked a Detroit show again. And then I saw that thing today or yesterday, and I was like, "Son of a
that sucks. Oh, what are
yeah."
you gonna start off with, buddy?
Yeah. First of all, before I get in my list, I mean, my list is, I mean, nighttime albums for me, man, it's a very diverse list. I mean, can go from mellow to, it could be like some hard stuff. It could be, I mean, just jazzy. It could be like all over the place. So my list is, think about this, man. It was like, wow, man, it's pretty freaking diverse. Like what I really like to listen to at nighttime. And for me, I always loved going in my old house in New Jersey. I had a basement, which was my man cave, and I'd go down there. I'd turn on the lava lamps, which I have in storage, and I wish I had them with me, but I got a little mood lighting here, and I turn on my lava lamps and have everything dark. Just my lava lamps illuminating. I'd have a nice glass of wine or something with me, and just kind of zone out.
Yeah.
And there's so many different albums that like I used to throw on, so it was kind of cool, like kind of just conjuring up. Oh man, this is great. This is great. This one's great. So actually, my number 10, I'm going with REM's "Automatic for the People."
Mm.
I listen to this a lot at nighttime. It's very acoustic based for REM. I don't know, just there's some the vibe about it. It's like I said, very acoustic based. Orchestrations produced by John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, and a lot of the songs on there, man, just kind of I don't know, they just give me a nighttime vibe to it. Like Drive, the opening song on it.
Yeah. That's it.
Night Swimming is great. Try Not to Breathe. There's a bunch of great songs on here. Like, and again, it's not like hard guitars on here like they would kind of do like early on in a career and then after they kind of really went to this acoustic kind of based period like without a time, and then with this one, Automatic for the People, kind of a mid-tempo stuff like that. So to me, Automatic for People, REM is a great nighttime album. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
listening to that at night. So that's
Yeah.
my number 10.
Yeah, me nighttime albums now it's kind of funny because I have problems driving at night. But when I was younger, man, I would drive at night all the
Yeah,
time from city
yeah,
to city, state to
yeah. And
state,
you'd listen to albums, man,
whatever.
throwing in the CD player, and yeah,
But I'm going to start off with a really good late night album, Doors, "L.A. Woman."
yeah. That's a
This,
great one, dude.
this has a really good nighttime vibe to it, man. And it ends, of course, with the Riders on the Storm. Such a great
Yeah,
track, man.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
hearing in the you hear the rain come down, the boom, boom,
It,
boom, boom. Then that bassist comes in, and that's the way the album closes. So LA Woman just has that nighttime vibe, man. fantastic album. It's one
Yeah,
of my favorites by them. I think it's my second after their debut. But man, this is so good.
yeah.
It's sad that this was their last one because dude, they were hitting on all cylinders.
They were
Uh,
really kind of they were really getting like a bluesy kind of thing going, and it was really
yeah,
great, man.
yeah,
One of my favorite bands too.
yeah, and the musicianship is fantastic on that album. It was just so good.
John Densmore is such an underrated drummer, man.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
doesn't get the love I think that he should. And I've met him once, and because the Doors was one of the first bands. My older brother, man, he was a huge Doors fan, and he had all their albums. And as a kid, man, just kind of looking at the album covers and hearing like just Jim Morrison's like lyrics and not really understanding them as a kid, but there's just something about his voice and his tone and the way he delivered it just kind of intrigued me, as a kid. And I've always just loved them ever since. So thanks, Paul, my older brother. He shaped me a lot of my early like musical stuff. So
Hey, man, thank God for Big Brothers.
yeah, man, big bros, man.
All right, Mike, what's your number 9, man?
My number 9 is the Eagles, Hotel California. To me, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people feel this way. I mean, Eagles have had so many amazing songs, and I did finally get to see them. Unfortunately, I did again waiting around too long, missed my
Right.
chance to see Glenn Fry, but his son and Vince Gill did an admirable job filling in for him. Deacon was great and sounds a lot like his pop, and I mean Vince Gill, amazing musician.
Yeah.
And the Eagles, one of those bands that just like when you go to see them, it kind of like the Stones. I mean, they got so many amazing songs that literally they could play all damn night if they wanted to. I picked Hotel California mainly because I mean it's their masterpiece. It literally is their Sergeant Pepper. There's not a bad track on the album.
Oh no, that's one of my favorite albums of all time.
Oh, it's amazing. And I mean, it was one of those again, growing up, hearing it on the turntable and stuff. And and even the title track, you know how some people talk about Burnout? I never get sick of that song ever. It's phenomenal. So that's
great. What a great late night album. You're like hearing the album and it ends with The Last Resort.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
badass song.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. It's just a great album, man. I mean, Wasted Time, Life in the Fast Lane, even the song that Randy Meisner sings, Gonna Try and Love Again. Great deep cut, man. It's just a great record from beginning to end.
Yeah. And so it's pretty made all in a row.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, there's not a bad track on the album.
The way that it fades in, God, it's so good. That's a really good pick. Kate, what do you got?
So my next pick, number 9, I went with Santo and Johnny. The album I went with was Pure Steel. So I was trying to figure this out. They do so many incredible covers. They cover a lot of pop music at the time, but the song that made me want to pick this is Sleepwalk. If you guys know that, they're like a killer pedal steel band, guitar, just chill, soothing music. But you guys got to check out the song Santo and Johnny, Sleepwalk. You'll recognize it immediately. But this one specifically, they have covers of like Ghost Rider in the Sky. They cover And I Love Her, like Beatles. This just, I don't know, there's something about this, but especially that Sleepwalk, that is such a good, chill, beautifully done song.
May I make a request? Could you send me like maybe a link to one of their songs from YouTube after the show?
Yeah, of course.
I would like to check that
I'll
out.
make a note. That if you like pedal steel and like I could call it flamenco guitar, but not all of it.
Like Spanish guitar, classical guitar.
I'll send you a link, man. It's you'll recognize Sleepwalk, I bet. But awesome. They do a ton of covers. Like there's I think it's Ada Gio. I think that's the name of it. And that one has a bunch of different covers. And like I said, they'll do stuff all the way to like Beatles, like old country, all the way to Beatles. So it's just cool to hear it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like to hear music that I'm very familiar with done in a different genre or just done differently. All right, Al, what's your number 9, buddy?
Well, This is probably gonna surprise some people, because again, my list is very diverse, and people are probably gonna be like, "Wow, how can you kind of listen to that at night?" But I don't know. Maybe a lot of people will agree with me. I'm going to the black metal genre, and there's a Romanian black metal band called Negura Bunget. All right, it's Negura, and it's B like boy Unget. They're a Romanian black metal band, but they're very atmospheric. Now, when it's the album is called OM, which was released in 2006. I got turned on to this band. I was on a music message board that I've been on for years called Steve Hoffman Forums. He's a mastering engineer, and he has like a forum. I don't know if people still remember forums, but there were before Facebook and all that stuff. There was forums that you go
You
on.
still got Reddit. Reddit's the biggest one.
There you go, man. But there's one called Steve Hoffman. I've been on there for like probably 15 years, and I've gotten a lot of suggestions from it just so many people have all these different like suggestions and stuff, which are great, And some guy suggested this, and I was on like a black metal phase for like a while. Like I was listening to a lot of different black metal and stuff, which I was never big into the whole kind of real extreme stuff. But then some of it really like grabbed me. It was like very atmospheric, especially this album. This album is just when you're in the dark and you have like just a little bit of lighting and you put this on, it just kind of the atmosphere of it. You think like, oh, screaming guitar, screaming, but it's not kind of really like that. It's just the way the mix is kind of the guitars are kind of like back a little bit. They're kind of mixed back, but they're kind of like how should I call it? They're ambient. It's kind of like a folk metal kind of like mixed in there with the black metal and all that. But anyway, I mean, I think this album is just like pure genius. If you're not even into anything into that genre, and I played this one time for a friend of mine who's not really big on like black metal or like extreme metal, but he like thought like it was amazing. Like this album, it was kind of like almost if like Pink Floyd was like black metal in a way. Has that kind of
now I'm totally intrigued.
I know. I'm like, spell the name again.
Negura Bunget. I'm gonna post my top 10 on my page, and you guys check it out, man. But I mean, because my list is very diverse. It's just but I mean, yeah, it's a black metal band, but they're from Romania. Usually, black metal bands are from Finland or the Scandinavian countries. This happens to be
a lot of Norwegian countries. Norway, Norwegian black metal,
yeah, which is where it really kind of originated from.
Yeah,
with Mayhem and all them early bands and stuff. But Negura Bunget Om is the name of the album, which came out in 2006. Just give it a chance. I think you'd like. If you listen to it on headphones, it's like amazing. It just kind of takes you somewhere. But you got to be in the dark. It's like kind of like you got to be at night. It's not like a daytime album. So that's my number 9.
My number 9 is going to be one that we're pretty familiar with, and in fact, we're going to be doing a 3 Shots Down show about these guys coming up very soon. I'm talking about Leonard Skinner's Street Survivor. This is a really good nighttime album. Especially if you're in the backyard with some buddies at about midnight or 1 with a couple of beers and some smoke flying in the air, you throw this on there. I will guarantee you this will add some more time to that little party you're having. It's not going to be winding down. It's going to be kicked up a notch.
That's definitely like a campfire, hanging out with your buds.
Yeah. Really good album. It's so sad again. It's their last one. What's Your Name? That Smell. You got that right. This is just just jam.
Fantastic. Yeah, great choice.
Yeah, and in fact, this is one of my favorites by them, which they don't have that many. I don't count Leonard Skinner after this. It's whatever.
It was a Leonard Skinner tribute band. Let's just be real.
Yeah,
exactly. But Street Survivor.
And you got the version without the flames on it.
Yeah. I've always seen the ones with the flames, and I don't like it because of course what happened. If things had been different and they did not die in a plane crash, I would absolutely get it. But I just went ahead and went with a black one. 'Cause
I
that-
don't know. Did you
yeah.
guys ever hear? I think it was that metal show. I had heard that, and I don't know if this is true or not. Could just be an urban legend, but that plane that they crashed in
was Aerosmith's plane.
is
Aerosmith.
that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Aerosmith's manager passed on it because it was in bad shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, Aerosmith was going to use it. Yes, that's.
Could
what it
you
was.
imagine though? Because like that would have. I mean, don't get me wrong. Aerosmith's legendary band, without question. But to me, I'm that guy that I like some of their 80s songs, but their musical peak for me was 70s. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've often thought, well, what would have happened if
They would have got wiped out in that crash.
if it hadn't been Leonard Skinner and it would have been Aerosmith? How would they be looked at today? I mean, again, they're a legendary band, so I don't mean I'm not trying to disparage them or disrespect them, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It'd be like, what if Kiss died at the height of their fucking popularity, man? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it would be like they would, again, not that they're not revered or admired or loved. You know what I'm trying to say, though?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
let's
but
be
that's-
honest, death does elevate your
Stature.
stature. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because if they had taken that plane at about that time, Aerosmith would have just stopped at Rocks. And that would have been
Right.
their last
I think
one.
Draw the Line would have been out too.
Huh? You think
I
Draw
think
the
Draw,
Line?
I think Draw the Line would have been out. So if that would have happened at Draw the Line, I mean, that would have been like their discography would have been pretty much perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
That's what I'm saying. Again, I don't want to say, hey, I wish Aerosmith it.
No.
What I'm saying, I wish it hadn't happened to any of them. It sucks because Leonard Skinner was an amazing band.
This goes back to the argument, and Andy and I are still going to have a show on this about bands that, they're most,
like their creativity has a 10-year
creativity to me. And if you look at many bands, pretty much most bands, the creativity period is usually a decade.
Yeah.
Like a band's first decade, or
is almost flawless. A lot of
flawless. It's after the first decade. That's when it starts to slide, starts to come in.
Sure.
When a band goes too long. That's why you look at bands like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, the guys that didn't get even pretty much 10 years and they stopped. That was it. I mean, they're so revered because you think the catalog is pretty much perfect. You know what I mean? It's they never had time to really go down the slope to really put out bad albums.
Well, I mean, and again, because of death, and I love Brian Johnson. Just going to throw that out there. Love that era of the band too. Love, especially for Brian. But Bon Scott, I mean, that era is just phenomenal. And you got to wonder, like, if he doesn't die, what would have happened? I mean, it's really weird because if you look at it, like Bon kind of predicted AC/DC's popularity. He said, "Oh, we're gonna be huge. Everything he said came true, but he never lived to see it." It's really kind of creepy if you think about it, man.
They really did hit the big time with Highway to Hell.
Yeah, they did, and he was on that record.
Like
but then Back in Black comes out and just blew
worldwide
everybody away. I mean, dude, I remember, again, me and my brothers, we got into music in a really young age. So I remember when Bon Scott died. I remember people going, oh, they're going to do a new album with it. Are they insane? Like nobody expected Back in Black.
Yeah.
And in some ways it was a heavier record. And I think maybe part of that was because of the anger from losing Bon. It just kind of, but yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see what kind of an album Back in Black would have been if Bon had lived.
Well, it's also their arc, the arc of their career. I mean, Highway to Hell is pretty much setting them up.
Sure, definitely. I think Power Age set up Hotter Than Hell. I think Power Age is probably my personal favorite.
Well, that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
I love that record.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as like, commercial success, they were starting to taste it with Highway to Hell. You know, Mutt Lange comes in, produces that
yeah,
album.
for sure.
And it really kind of just set up the whole. I mean, if Bond had lived, I think Back in Black would have still been huge. But I think like the whole mystique of him passing away, and then they getting the whole curiosity factor probably played into that too. You know, and I don't know, man. It's one of those weird things. You know, sometimes replacing members backfires, and sometimes replacing them works. You know what I mean? It's all to me. It depends on the arc of the band, the pop. You know what happened.
You know, we ought to do an episode sometime about and just call it "What If" and come up with different scenarios. Like, what if this had happened with this band?
Guys,
what if
keep on. I'll be back in a minute.
Sure thing. I'll take.
Yeah. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, we'll bullshit here.
Yeah.
Who's next anyway?
Well, you.
Who did the last one?
Andy just did Leonard Skinner, so it's
okay. So we're going to number 8. Then.
That's my turn.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So go ahead, Mike. Go do number 8.
Okay, my number 8 is Rush 2112. Again, I was just a kid when I first heard this album. I was aware of Rush because we had a great rock station, still in existence to this day, FM radio, KC 95, Real Rock Radio. They even had a mascot called Sweet Meat, which was a pig with a joint hanging out of his mouth. So they were very like underground and very, and they would play Rush and Working Man. Yeah. And so Working Man was the first Rush song I ever heard. And I mean, even as a child, I remember thinking when I would hear the words, I'm like, that's my father. My father was a blue collar, pipe fitter, worked and did all, and there would be times I would hardly ever see him because all he did was work all the time. So when I would hear that song to this day, even I always think of my pop, my old man, and but when I heard 2112, it just blew my mind. It was almost like, especially if you listen to it on headphones, man, it was like Star Wars for the ears or something. It was telling the story, and it was
a journey.
It was just, you go on this journey, man. And to me, there's nothing better than an album like that where you just sit back, open up your wine or beer or light a doob or whatever, and just sit back and just, just the whole thing, like with the synthesizers, the way it opens up, and you're just like, oh, wow, man. I can't say enough about this album. It is still my favorite Rush album, along with Moving Pictures to this day. Love it.
Awesome. All right, Kate, number 8.
My number 8, I went with Willie Nelson's Stardust.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I must think now it should be higher on the list, but I put it in order and I didn't change it, but it actually probably will be higher up. But Stardust is just so damn good. God damn it. You guys know how much I love Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is a national treasure. And this one, it's a bunch of covers, but he's doing a bunch of standards. And anyone who's never listened to Stardust, anyone listening to this show that's never listened to Stardust, please do yourself a favor and listen to this soup to nuts, because he's doing a bunch of different, just anything you could think of, from Ray Charles. He has Frank Sinatra covers. He has like the Everly Brothers. I'm just trying to think of like all he has like Gershwin that he does Someone to Watch Over Me. It's such a phenomenal album. And now I'm like, why is this at number 8? I should have had it higher up. But regardless of that, it is just an incredible, beautiful album of Willie just being Willie. And
it's got that nice
good chill vibe. Yeah, it's such a good chilling album. I don't know, something with Willie, something with a lot of those old country guys. To me, I think it's probably like not having a grandfather. Like both my grandpas were gone before I can remember, so I think those old dude voices like that are so soothing to me. That's the part of my psyche that I think is why I like that. But I love those old dudes, like even if you go into like Stanley Brothers or something really old, any of that. Those old guys like that just are so soothing to me. And this, especially this Willie Stardust, is just such a beautiful. And he did another one recently. What was that one he dropped like last year or the year before? He dropped another one that was all like standards that he
Oh,
did.
Willie did?
Yeah. I can't think of the name of it, but in the last like 4 years, he's dropped another album that's a bunch of these like singer standards that would be, Frank or Ella or somebody would be singing it. And he had another album like that he dropped a couple years ago.
Yeah.
This one's a jam, though. I highly recommend this one to anyone who doesn't know it.
Cool.
What's your number 8, Al?
All right, my number 8, I'm going with a band called Nectar, Nektar. Now, their debut album is called Journey to the Center of the Eye. And it's, if you like space rock, if you like Pink Floyd, if you like bands of that genre, this is right up your alley. Nectar was based out of Germany. I think some members were actually English, though, but they were really based out of Hamburg, Germany. And this was their debut album. Now, it's a 13-track album, but it's really just one long, continuous piece of music. And to me, it just kind of takes you on a journey, hence the name Journey to the Center of the Eye. It's kind of considered a rock opera concept album. It's really based on an astronaut that's on his way to Saturn, and he encounters aliens that they take him to their galaxy, to their planet, where they infuse knowledge into his head, and it's almost kind of, and like what they're putting into his head almost is kind of a commentary on like a nuclear, like kind of a war, kind of arms race kind of
Like
thing.
Fallout?
Yeah, it's pretty out there, man. But it's like one of those albums. It's like I couldn't envision playing this like during the day, a sunny barbecue, type. It's really one of those
Nighttime.
albums where you go lay down on the couch in darkness and with a little bit of light, candlelight or something, put on the headphones and really kind of just space out to it, man. And it's very much a nighttime listening album. So. Journey to the Center of the Eye by Nectar, a very underrated band. Not a lot of people talk about Nectar, but if you love Floyd and you love all like that kind of psychedelic stuff, man, definitely check them out, man. They're a great band. I had a friend of mine who was the bass player in my band that I was in, and he loved Nectar, man. I kind of wish I went with him. He went one time to go see them. They played in New Jersey. It was probably like over 15 years ago. And I think the main member is gone now. I don't know how many original members are left in that band, but he said it was great and stuff. But Nectar, Nektar, that's the way you spell it. So check it out, man. Journey to the Center of the Eye. That's my number 8. Andy, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, let's review real quick because I missed it.
Yeah, Mike was Rush 2112.
Okay.
And Kate was Willie Nelson Stardust.
Oh, Stardust. Oh. Nice picks, you two. That was great. So my number 8, I'm going to go with, of course. Oh yeah, I want to talk about this one briefly because we all remember radio, and when I was probably a teenager and older, the radio used to have midnight albums that they would spin.
Oh yeah.
And one night I turned it on, and I didn't catch the introduction, but I was hearing it. I was like, "What is this? I've never heard this before." I might have been about 16 or 17, and so I had to stay up and wait to the very end to find out what it was. And I finally found out what it was at the end. I found it on vinyl a long time ago, and I love hearing this. Lou Reed's "Rock and Roll Animal."
Wow.
Live album. This one here.
Great live album, man.
Yes, dude, it's a great live nighttime album, and it's all Velvet Underground songs. That's all that's played on here. There's the back of it, but man, when I was hearing this, it made me so excited because it was so cool, such a good album, And when they finally came out of who it was, I was like, oh, okay, Lou Reed, I've heard of him. And Dick Wagner's on guitar on here as
Dick
well.
Wagner, yeah.
Yeah.
Great
So
guitar player, man.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's my number 8 is Lou Reed's Rock and Roll Animal.
Was that that wasn't produced by Ezrin, was it?
Produced by Steve Katz and Lou Reed.
Okay, all right.
And it was
Well, it's a live
recorded
album
at
too, so
the
yeah,
Academy of Music.
yeah.
Where's that at, Al?
What's
I know
that?
that's in New York, but Howard Stein's Academy of Music. Where's that around? Like what area?
Oh, Academy of Music.
Yeah.
That's in Manhattan. That's in Manhattan.
Okay, because that's where this was recorded. It was recorded live at Howard Stein's Academy of Music in New York City.
That's in Manhattan. Yeah.
Okay, is it still around?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. It may be renamed something else, and I don't remember. I don't remember. I remember going to see Steve Vai when he had the Sex and Religion album out. He had the Canadian singer. Why can't I think of his name now? He went on kind of to do his own thing. He's really carved out his own career. I can't think of his name now. Shit, I'm having a brain fart. Anyway, Steve Vai had a singer. He discovered this young kid, and he had him on a Sex and Religion. And I went to go see him. And the place I saw him was called the Academy. So I don't know if that was the same place or not.
Okay.
It may have been. This was like in '92 or '93 when I saw them.
Okay.
And it was really cool. It was really cool, man. Very Zappa-esque, because Steve Vai was in Zappa, and I think he pulled out a Zappa tune or two.
Oh,
To play. Yeah.
Because he did play on that Drowning Witch album.
Yeah.
All right.
What the hell is his name? I'm trying to think of the kid's name. It'll come to me, man. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. I'm number 7, Mike.
Number 7, Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime. I mean, this was I remember when I first got this album, Columbia House, got it, had heard a lot of hype about it. I remember popping into my brother's tape deck and putting on the headphones and just sitting back and listening, man, and just being immersed because it tells this compelling story. In my opinion, it's their masterpiece. I mean, they've done a lot of great stuff since then and before then, but it's just, not only is it my favorite Queensryche album, I think it might be one of my all-time favorite albums, period. It's just a great, great record. And that's my number 7. I probably could have put them in number 8 and Rush at number 7, but like I said, I just kind of wrote them down. I didn't even really think about the order, to be honest with you, because it's like
I didn't go too crazy with the order either. It was just kind of right.
Like,
I mean, my number 1 and number 2 might be the cream of the crop, but I mean, a lot of these is just like it's real. No, not in any real order, really. I mean, we like to order these things. It's just like how can I even order? I love all these albums. So.
Well, like I said, next time I could have this totally ranked different, or just have totally different albums. It's just what I was feeling at the time.
Yeah,
right.
Operation Micro. I never really associate that as a night album, but I mean, it's
one. I mean, and maybe it's because
it's not a sunny album either. So
no, it's not. But it's a very dark album, and the first time I heard it, it was night. I mean, I had my headphones on, and the candles, and I don't know. It just and then there are certain scenes like when he's talking about him and Sister Mary and how they're like the walls will tell the story of our pain, and and even mentions a candle and the lonely shadow, and I don't know. It's very atmospheric, I think, and just
Jimmy is right. It's Devin Townsend that was on
that. Okay, Devin.
So I saw Devin Townsend, man, when he was like nobody knew who he was, and he was singing for Steve Vai on the one album, Sex and Religion, which is a pretty damn cool album, man.
It is very Zappa-like, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I remember during the concert, even because Devin Townsend plays guitar as well, and Steve, I think, had Now the other guy's I'm brain farting on the other guy. He's been a Zappa alumni as well. He had him on second guitar. So there was a point where they were playing three guitars, doing like the Attitude song by like Steve Vai, stuff like that. Really, really cool concert, man. And Devin Townsend was nuts, man. I remember him diving into the crowd and shit. He didn't give a shit, man. He was nuts, man. So it was a really cool concert. Thank you, Jimmy, for pointing that out.
Awesome. Kate, number 7.
My number 7, I went with Clarence Carter, Patches. You guys know I love Clarence Carter. Clarence Carter can be really silly, really, really sexual, or Patches, which is like one of those songs that just makes you weep if you get it, you know? I don't know. I love him. Great, great blues singer, incredible guitarist, blind from birth, like one of those people that is just killing it in the music scene. And I think he's really underappreciated. So I always want to shout out Clarence Carter. So that Patches album, it's something else. You guys would have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm saving some of these albums that y'all are talking about.
Yeah. I'll post my list.
All right.
Yeah.
Al, what's your number 7, man?
Hey, my number 7, man, I'm going with switching gears again. I'm going with Roxy Music and Avalon. Great album, man. I mean, this is sophisticated pop, new wave. Roxy Music is Brian Ferry and Phil Manzanera, Phil Manzanera is a guitar player who actually played on some of David Gilmour's solo stuff and has actually toured with him. I'm wondering if he's going to be on a new tour with him too. I'm sure he might be. So this is a great album, man. I mean, if you want to test, and Andy knows this, I'm really into like surround sound music, and I still have to set it up here in my new home, but I always have a good, nice surround system, and I used to collect a lot of albums in surround sound format, and this is one of them that I had. And putting this on is actually like one of the best surround mixed albums that's out there. It's kind of a reference. Like if you were gonna like really test this out and try to sell somebody on a surround system, this would be like one of the albums to like put on.
Oh, wow.
It's got a really cool, just a kind of a nighttime, almost kind of new wave-ish, like jazzy feel. It's got saxophones and really cool just instrumentation on it. And this is my favorite Roxy Music album. I'm not a huge Roxy Music fan, but this album, it was actually, this album was kind of lent to me by, I used to work for a pizzeria, and the owner of the pizzeria co-owned it with my cousin, and he was from Canada, but he liked like a lot of different music, and Roxy Music was one of the bands he used to play more than this, which is the opening track. He used to make mixtapes, and that was one of the songs on one of his mixtapes. And I always like, it was really cool, like just kind of a smooth, kind of like, it's not hard, it's not heavy, it's just easy listening kind of. But I love Brian Ferry's voice. It's just so croony and so smooth, man. It just definitely lends to like a nice nighttime feel, which I think this album is perfect for. So Roxy Music, Avalon, which I think came out in 1982. So
yeah.
I think that was the last Roxy Music album before they broke up, and then Brian Ferry went solo. So it was the last
every
one.
time I think of Roxy Music, I think of mid-70s.
Yeah, this was 82. So this will be the last album that they put out.
It is their last album. You're right. Huh. Interesting. I'm going to chat.
Al, I'm trying to listen to you, but I can't stop staring at them cats.
Yeah. They love being on here.
They're so cute. They were dusting each other with their tails, and then they laid down, and now they're spitting.
Oh, yeah, they're vibing out.
We're number 7, right?
Yes.
Number 7. I really don't listen to this guy that much, but when I do, this is the only album that I really have heard. This is the only album that I like by him. Other than that, it's a hit or miss with me. But this is a good nighttime album. Talk about David Bowie and the Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
Nice.
As a nighttime album.
Oh, you're not a big Bowie guy though.
No, I'm not. But dude, I love this album.
That's a great. I mean, that's yeah.
It's weird that his other stuff really doesn't grab me at all. It's weird, but this album I can listen to from beginning to end,
Yeah,
and it's so it's kind of schizophrenic when it comes from track to track to track, because almost every track is so different.
yeah,
So I'm gonna go with David Bowie with the Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars
yeah, great album, man.
Nice, great pick.
as a nighttime album. Because just imagine driving in the middle of nowhere at 1:30 in the morning from a small town to another small town. You're
And hearing
hearing
Moon
that
Age
album.
Daydream or something.
Great, yeah, it's a great album to listen to. All
Yeah.
right, we're at number 6, guys.
Okay. Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti.
Mm. Yeah,
Just absolutely love this record, man. And this is one of those albums. Don't make any plans for a while, you know.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a perfect nighttime album. Just pop that on, smoke your stuff or drink your stuff, whatever it is you're into, and just sit back and enjoy.
yeah,
I gotta say, man, that album, it brings back a lot of memories for me because my older brother was the biggest Zeppelin fan, and he introduced me to Zeppelin. And when we went on vacation the summer of '85 to Portugal, which is where my parents are from. They have a place there, and we went together and with some cousins of ours. So we had a great time. We went for a month, and
Nice.
yeah, and my brother was already driving, so we bought a bunch. We bought his like cassette case, and and I remember driving through the evening in Portugal on like one of the like I mean, you're talking like a back road that's really not lit at all. It's dark
right.
and it's
Yeah.
very windy. It's probably going the side of a mountain. You know what I mean? And we had Physical Graffiti in the tape deck, and then it's just like hearing like Kashmir, like going through like winding roads of Portugal, and just kind of it just was like the perfect soundtrack for like that drive. It just like every time I hear that song or album, it kind of just brings me back. It's amazing, like when you hear stuff and it brings you back to a moment in time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a time machine,
Yes.
And you're driving through the rustic. I mean, Portugal has castles and things like that, and Zeppelin's lyrics and everything just lends great to like that kind of like background. You know what I mean?
Well, that mysticism, that
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look how much they refer to Tolkien in their work.
Lord
Yeah,
of the Rings stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great album. I
yeah.
will be having a double album coming up soon. Let's see what that is.
Oh,
Yeah. Double album that Cashmere literally sounds like cashmere. It's incredible. That's when Al and I went to New York, and Al was going to be moving out of New York shortly thereafter.
oh, that's
And I was
right.
like, hey, meet me at the building for Physical Graffiti.
We met at the building. We met
That's
up at
so
the building.
cool.
The
Yeah.
cover of Physical Graffiti.
The
We met up
cover.
at that building.
Yeah, it was literally like 2 blocks from the hotel we were staying at, which was so funny. And
One day when I go to New York, I'm going to take a picture there, and I'm
Get
going to
it
take
up.
a picture
It's
on the
We got
Dress to
pictures
Kill,
there, man.
the street with Dress to Kill.
yeah. Beautiful building. It's still completely intact and stunning looking on the exterior. There's a place that is called Physical Graffiti, which is a gourmet tea shop that is there now.
Yeah, it's
Which is
kind of like
funny.
it's kind of in the build. Like it's kind of like you
Yeah,
walk
it's
down
like
the
in the
stairs.
basement
The
almost.
basement. Yeah, it's a little
Yeah, because
similar.
the upstairs is all still living space, but they'll have little shops that are like down a few steps, and
Yeah.
that is Physical Graffiti if you need to find the actual address for the building.
And the Rolling Stones Waiting on a Friend video.
Yeah, Waiting
is
on a
still one of
Friend.
those steps too.
Yep. How
Oh, okay.
funny though. That was one of those things that I was like, I'm meeting one of my podcast buddies. I'm
I
like,
know.
holy crap, dude, like we got to go to this building. Have you ever been to this building? And he'd never been there before. So like you have to see this before you leave New York. Well, Jersey, but whatever.
We had a
Close enough.
great day and night that night.
Yeah.
We went,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
we went to see Jim Norton, and
Jim is so funny. And then
we sat.
we do Joey Rose's. We did Sandwich
Joey
Shop. That's another
Rose's.
comic sandwich shop. And
Yeah.
sat at the olive tree, and we're like, oh, there's so and so, there's so and so, there's so and so. The olive tree's above the Cellar for anyone who doesn't know New York or
Yeah,
like New York comedy scene.
it's owned by
Yeah,
it's owned by
Gnome.
what's his name?
Gnome is the guy who owns the Comedy Cellar now. So it's
No, but
it's
the
incredible.
no, but the place next to the where we were like hanging out, where all the comics were hanging out. What's his
Yeah,
name?
that's the Cellar. Like Gnome is the guy who owns the Comedy Cellar now.
Okay,
Oh,
but
you're
he
thinking when we were in the other side when we saw
the
Jim Norton
restaurant
was in the
part.
lounge.
Yeah,
That's Colin Quinn owns
Colin
the
Quinn.
Fat Black Pussycat Club. So that's around the corner. So now they call this Cellar McDougal Street.
Yeah.
So they have the bar and the lounge is the Fat Black Pussycat. There's the Village Underground. And then when you go around the corner, the original Comedy Cellar is McDougal Street.
Yeah,
But the restaurant above that is the Olive Tree. And that's where all the comics hang out. So it's like, we're just sitting there. We're hanging out with his buddy and my fiance. We're just sitting there like having a drink after the show,
and
and there's
Kate's
just
recognizing
all
all
these.
these
I'm like,
comics.
there's so and so, there's so and so, there's so and so. It is like, oh my god, it's so incredible to hang out in New York and see all these famous comics.
And
And
Cafe Wow was right there, which is really cool.
Hendrix played there.
Hendrix
Yeah,
played there.
yeah,
Yeah,
literally like 2 doors down from it is Cafe Wa, and that's Hendrix played there when he would play in New York. Crazy.
David Lee Roth's Uncle Manny who owned it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Well,
my gosh.
when Van Halen was coming out with their last album, A Different Kind of Truth, they did a
No
little
way.
show in there, and it was only yeah.
Club?
I mean, it was impossible to get in there. It was only basically record company people and DJs,
That's
and
wild.
you know,
I didn't know that. That's so crazy.
yeah. So anyway,
What a cool spot though. That was such a fun hang, dude. That
yeah,
we got lucky that synced up right. But
Yeah.
my number 6. All right, we're on number 6. Number
Yeah.
6. My number 6, I went with Nick Drake, Pink Moon, his Parting Goodbye Note album, which unfortunately he ends up taking his own life not too long after this album drops, but
Yeah.
this is one of those sweet goodbye notes, like a Dear John letter in my mind of his musical career. This drops in 1972, and even like just the title track in itself is such an incredible chill, like psych, but still on the chill side of psych song. But the whole album vibe is great. It's one that I really dig, that I always try to tell people to check out if they don't know him.
What year did Nick Drake die?
I want to
the
say
summer?
73. This dropped 72. I want to say 73, but let me double check. I know he unfortunately took his own life, but it wasn't too long after. So this says 74. November 25th, 74. He took his own life, but he was in the UK. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of a bummer. Sorry to be a downer, but this
All right.
is a really beautiful album, and like highlighting these people's legacies that they leave. Like that's all our whole show of like 3 Shots Down. I always want to bring into light and keep them alive by sharing their music and making other people appreciate their music. So I'm like, if you don't know Nick Drake, if you don't know Pink Moon, well worth your time, in my opinion.
I will definitely check it out. What's your number 6, buddy?
My number 6, I'm going with Master of Reality, Black Sabbath.
Ooh.
It was either this one or the debut. I think there's an atmosphere on the debut and on this one that just really, I mean, let's face it, Black Sabbath is not a sunshine band, really. I mean, you could pretty much put on any Sabbath album at night, but to me, this has a perfect like ambience for like nighttime. And I mean, you got heavy tracks, you got Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Children of the Grave, but even Children of the Grave has that kind of atmospheric. I mean, you're not going to listen to that during the daytime. It's just a nighttime spooky like song, Then you got a really mellow track that I love, Solitude. It's like one of my favorite mellow tracks by Sabbath. And then Into the Void, it's just perfect for throwing on the lava lamps and, putting some incense on. And, that's the album that you put on, man. So So that's number 6, man. Sabbath, Master of Reality.
Awesome. Mine number 6 is another live album, and it is an epic live album. I don't know if this is a double album because I've got it on cassette. Side one is 32 minutes and side two is 31 minutes on cassette. I'm talking about Rainbow on Stage.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
Dude, this is such a good nighttime album, man. It's so haunting. It's also a very haunting album to hear Dio and Blackmore going at it, man. It's a masterpiece in my opinion. So I'm going with Rainbow on Stage.
awesome.
Well,
All
you're gonna
right,
love
Mike.
my number 5,
Yeah.
Rainbow Rising.
Oh,
I absolutely adore this record, from beginning to end. Stargazer, I think, is one of the greatest. Probably when it comes to Ronnie James Dio, probably my favorite song he's ever done,
oh,
and
geez,
I'm
yes.
including, of course, the stuff he did with the Heaven and Hell version of Sabbath and on his own or his band. But yeah, I mean, it's just an amazing track, an amazing album. I mean, it's from beginning to end, and it's one of those ones where
The Light in the Black. I mean, it's
dude. Oh my God, so epic.
Yeah,
epic, but yet like it takes you on a journey, and to me, that's kind of what a night album does. It takes you on a journey, and that's why it's my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, these are mood albums that just sound better at night.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can hear them during the day and they're okay, but at night is where they shine the most.
Yes, sir.
Shine the most. Number 5, Kate.
Sorry, I keep muting myself because I was sick all week and I'm coughing my booty off. My number 5, I had to go with Roy Orbison and Dreams. I adore Roy. I love Roy's work with the Beatles. I love Roy in a million different ways. Traveling Wilburys, like, come on.
Amazing. My mom adored Roy Orbison.
His voice.
Anytime I hear him, it always takes me back to my childhood.
Yeah. And he could do, like, I forget what it was. I think he had a range of like 8 octaves or something. Like, he had a full vocal range. So just incredible. Like I said, that one of those dudes with that soothing, silky, beautiful voice that just calms me. And this one, I mean, In Dreams, like the title track, fantastic. But he has Blue Bayou on here, which stunning song. I love the vibe of this song. The lyrics, gorgeous. I think my favorite version of this, though, I have to throw out Linda Ronstadt. Linda Ronstadt doing Blue Bayou is stunning. I mean, her voice is just incredible as it is. That's that, like, what's the Micones de mi Padre, the songs of my father. I mean, she just is incredible. But her version of Blue Bayou covering that, ridiculous. He has All I Have to Do Is Dream is on this one. I mean, it's just such a good. I love Roy so much, and that's even as like that first Traveling Wilburys, and he's only on a couple songs because he ends up passing away even before that comes out, and that's the one. What is it? End of the line when they have the music video, and they just have his guitar in the rocking chair.
Yes,
He's already gone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that destroys me.
And then Mystery Girl that he put out too before he died was a great album too.
And he's super young. He's only like 54 when he died. I know he looked older than he is, but he was really young. He had a horrifically tragic life, which I'll probably pick him eventually on our like 3 shots down for one of my dudes. But he had the craziest life. He had a bunch of horrific shit happen to him and his family.
Didn't he lose his family in a fire?
Yeah, in
a
fire.
My mom told me.
When he was in Europe, he's touring in Europe, and his family dies in a house fire. Horrific. So he'll probably be one of my picks. Like, for sure, he's going to be one of my dudes for 3 shots down. But stunning voice, and what a spirit to like continue. You know, he kept going even after everything he went through. So I I adore Roy, and he was cool with the Beatles. The Beatles loved him. Like, that's just somebody who's always been like really
Hey,
high.
Paul McCartney flat out said, "We're not coming to America," because he would see these artists that were getting #1 records. Now, Roy had a lot of top 10 hits, but I don't think he ever had a #1. So Paul took umbrage with that. He's like, "How in the hell is he not like?" And this guy, and this, he's like, "You know what? We're not coming to America.
He's
We get
kind of
#1
weird. He's
record."
kind of
And he
kooky.
did it,
He's
man.
not a cover model dude. He
No.
had his glasses, and like he wasn't blind. He had like super sensitive eyes, is why he always wore the dark glasses. But he's just one of those dudes that like his talent didn't overthrow that like weird thing that they wanted for frontman of a band. And it's like he totally should have killed it, but
Yeah.
it didn't happen. So
Well,
So-
and here's another interesting thing about him. The original artist, the co-creator of Spider-Man, Steve Ditko, he modeled Doc Ock or Dr. Octopus after Roy Orbison. I mean, the dark glasses, the hair. I mean, it looks like Roy Orbison, man.
that's so funny. Now that you say it, I see it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Awesome.
Great choice, though, Kay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I
Thank
mean,
you. I love Roy. I got to shout
yeah,
him
he's
out.
amazing. He was
I have
great.
some of my dudes that I always talk about like on every podcast, and that's one of my dudes.
Yeah. I'm looking.
My
forward-
mom adored him.
He's so good.
All right, Al. What's your number 5, man?
All right, number 5. Well, during our what's spinning, I pulled out Depeche Mode, but it's not. And I could have easily chose Violator because that's a great nighttime album. But ultimately, I went with Ultra, which came out in 1997. I love that album. It's such a moody album. It was around a time when Dave Gahan really was coming out of his like really bad addictions, and very dark album lyrically and just musically. It's like very moody and ambient, and it's when Alan Wilder had left, so they were down with Trio, and it opens up with Barrel of a Gun, which is a great song. It's No Good was the big single from it. I'm a big Depeche Mode fan, so I mean, I played the hell out of this album when it was new. Every once in a while, like on a rainy day or like at night, like really, if I want to like kind of zone out and stuff, I got put that on and really kind of just zone out on it, man. I mean, I love Dave Gahan's voice and the instrumental, like I don't know, man, it just kind of just takes you somewhere, man. Like everybody's always kind of like, I mean, people don't really know Depeche Mode that well. Kind of maybe might think of the early stuff, the kind of more synth poppy kind of things, but they really became a dark kind of band, man. Like even though it wasn't like the heavy distorted guitars, it was still heavy. To me, like you don't have to be heavy to be heavy. You don't have to have heavy distorted guitars. It's all about a vibe and a mood, and you could be lyrically heavy. You could be, I mean, shit. The way synthesizers or keyboards or even acoustic guitars, you play in minor keys and they can be heavy. You know what I mean? It's just a vibe and it's a mood. So to me, like they were like a synth band, but they were kind of like a just a dark like metal band in a way, kind of in disguise. So I mean, their lyrics are pretty heavy, man, pretty dark. And this album got as dark as it could, because Dave Gahan was really messed up on like heroin and shit like that. So,
Oh, that'll do it to you.
And I
But
think
I
he
mean,
almost-
being
I think
that
he
you
tried
mentioned
taking
that,
his life at one point and stuff and things like that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
man. Go ahead.
no, it's cool, man. I thought you were done, so I didn't mean to try to.
No, I'm done, man. If you want to,
What I was going to say though is, you're talking about atmosphere or lyrically, even. I mean, look at Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues. I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Yeah,
That's fucking metal, man. I don't care. Like, yeah, he's country, he's old school country, he's outlaw country, obviously. But lyrically, man, I'm like, I remember when I heard that as a kid, I was like, holy shit, man, that's that's some dark ass shit right there, And
when I grew up,
his songs were like that.
Somebody.
And
Hey Joe, you think of Hendrix, Hey Joe, or something like
Oh
that?
yeah.
Speaking of Cash, when Cash covers 9 Inch Nails, Hurt, and it's like even what's his name?
Reznor.
yeah, Reznor's like that was his song. Like Reznor says he channeled the lyrics, but it was Cash's song. That's
Well,
how
yeah,
good
I
that
heard
cover
that
is.
Trent said it's not mine anymore. I don't even consider it an NIN song. And I like the
So
original, but
good.
Johnny did an
Oh
amazing.
man,
You talk
his
about
is
a guy
like
who could do great
insane.
covers. And to me, I'm a big believer that if you do a cover, kind of like a remake of a film, I want you to
Mhm.
put your spin on it. When I see
Right.
a film, I don't want to see the
Right.
same damn movie, but with different actors.
Right.
I want to
Yeah.
see something, bring something new to the table. And I feel the same way about covers. Make that shit yours, man. Or otherwise, I'll just listen to the original.
Original.
And Johnny always made his covers his own.
Right. And that's somebody his voice from beginning to end. Like I almost think his voice is even better to lend itself to that song when he's
Mhm.
old and he's
Yes.
got that super
Frail.
gravel thing happening. Oh my god.
Oh
It's
man, that video brought me to tears almost. It was like,
so good.
again, my mom and dad were huge Johnny fans. My mom adored him. So it was like, yeah, that one, I went to see his museum when I went to my first rockin' pod in
Nice.
Nashville, and it was
Yeah.
awesome.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I just grew up in my teen years thinking he actually did kill a man. I just thought that he did.
He sings about it so much.
Yeah, I just thought he was in prison for a few years.
When you hear when they say the outlaw
Yeah,
country guys, you're like,
yeah.
oh, they're like real outlaws. So you probably just believe everything that they're singing about. And it's like, nah, they're outlaws because they were like DUIs and stuff.
But good pick, Al.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
That's so
Yeah,
true about Depeche Mode that they can get dark at times.
I like that. There's a whole thing I was gonna say during Al's that it's like all the they do all these pop hits that they go from major to minor and you can watch them on YouTube and it's like someone covering it, but they take it from major scale to minor and it's so creepy when you hear them in the minor.
Huh.
So it's
Yeah.
it's a fun thing to listen to. It like messes with your brain where your brain's like, I don't like this. I don't know why it doesn't sound right, but it's the major to minor.
Oh,
It's
interesting.
funny.
My
Andy, what's your number 4?
number 4 or number
5.
Or what are we on? 5. Sorry,
Oh,
I
okay.
was skipping ahead. You're on number
Here's
5.
my double album that I was talking about earlier. Rolling Stones Exile on Main Street.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
such a
Masterpiece.
1 o'clock. I mean, you're a little feeling pretty good. Might be a little bit fucked up. They're all the way fucked up. I mean, not even a little bit. All of them are on the other side of the line, and they're and the music sounds like it. It's so authentic and real. And I know that I don't talk about the Stones as much as I should because I'm a Beatle guy. I just think the Beatles are better. But man, these strings of
It's pretty
them.
tough to compete with that album, though, man.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
Our fellow podcaster, from the Rock and Metal Combat podcast, Ian Wadley, he always has a statement, and I'm kind of like, yeah, that's how I feel about it. He says the Beatles are the greatest band of all time, but the Rolling Stones are the greatest rock and roll band of all time. And I'm like, you know what? I can see that. I see what he's saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, I never, it's one thing if you like one over the other, but what I can't stand is when you'll hear people that'll love on one but disparage the other, and I'm like, you're
Yeah.
fucking high, man.
You
They're
can't
both
do that,
great,
bro.
like
You just
you're
can't.
talking about. I mean, one of the things that made the Stones cool is they had their own thing, especially once the Beatles broke up. The Stones, especially when they got Mick. I mean, don't get me wrong, Brian Jones, great guitar player, and I know he was the founder of the band, and you know,
Mick
Painted
Taylor.
Black's probably my all-time favorite Stones album or song, but Mick Taylor era is where it's fucking at.
Best
Yeah.
era ever is the Mick Taylor
Yes,
era.
but I mean, I don't even think that's not even subjective.
Not
It's
close.
fucking science.
That's really when they came into their own, man. When they
Yeah,
really,
and that's what I mean. They became the Stones. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the '60s stuff. Beggars,
Yeah.
I mean, I love all that stuff. But man,
But that 68,
Sticky Fingers,
73
Exile to Main Street. I mean, they were just on a roll.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it was because of Mick Taylor's
let it
guitar.
bleed.
Also, I think, and I also think part of it was because, let's be honest, they were both like checking each other out and seeing what they were doing. I mean, even the Beach Boys, I mean, you had Pet Sounds, and the
And
Beatles were like,
McCartney.
oh, and then they come out with Sgt. Pepper, which totally, blew Brian Wilson's mind. He was like, well, I give up. I can't ever top that. Eventually he did release Smile as a solo artist. And
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest, it's weird. I'm not the biggest Beach Boys fan, but I do like Pet Sounds, and I liked his solo. I mean, I like some songs. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to shit on them or anything, but I guess part of it with me is
Check
I'm
out
a
that
kid
documentary on that, man.
I lived in the sticks in the Midwest. It was very hard for me to, relate to surfing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
things like that. So it's like, while I respect them in their place, but it was albums like Pet Sounds where I'm like, okay, now you're talking, you're kind of, I don't know. And it's a shame that in a way, Brian cause Smile's a good record. I mean, I'm not saying it's as good as Sgt. Pepper, but to me, just because your competitor knocks one out of the park, that's no reason to quit. Now I know Brian had a lot of other issues going on, heavy drug use, and he had some psychological things going on. So I'm not trying to judge him, but I was like, I just wish somebody had been like, bro, like, no, finish this record. Because Paul McCartney said he was kind of bummed out because he loved Pet Sounds. All the Beatles.
He wanted to keep going with them back and
forth.
Yeah,
like, oh, okay. All right. Well, here, try this one on for size. Yeah. I love that. I think competition brings out the best in everybody.
Yeah. And if you see that with the Stones and the Beatles there in the late 60s with Let It Bleed, Let It Be, Abbey Road, and
sure. I mean, even her Satanic's Majesty request was kind of like which is probably one of my least favorite Stones albums.
Yeah.
But
they played She's a Rainbow at this show I was at.
I love that song, but I'm sorry, as an album, it's kind of like, let's be honest, like, no disrespect, but Ace Frehley's version of 2000 Man blows away the Stones. Sorry, that's just in my opinion.
It is. It does.
But with that being said, I mean, once the Beatles broke up, it allowed the Stones, and also with the addition of Mick Jones, it just gave the band, who was with, John Mayall's Blues Breakers, it just gave them. Oh, that's another artist, legacy artist I saw a couple of years ago. He was awesome. Old guy, still got it, man. But anyway, yeah, I mean, to me, it just brought a new dynamic to the Stones. And in my opinion, the Mick Taylor era is where it's at. Again, no offense to Brian Jones, no offense to
Ronnie Wood.
I love that stuff too, but look
Taylor,
at Kitty.
Mick Taylor was where it was at.
Too cute.
Mick Taylor was a boss. Real boss.
Oh, yeah.
All right, man. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. My turn?
Number four.
Number 4. Pink Floyd The Wall. This is a perfect album, I think, to chill out to, and just, because there is heavy parts. I mean, right in the opening song, In the Flesh, which I saw Primus live do that song. Amazing.
Yeah.
I just absolutely adore this album. It is my favorite Pink Floyd album, period. Don't get me wrong. Love Animals, love Dark Side. I'm a big fan of the of that lineup. I think Dave Gilmour and Roger Waters were just phenomenal together. That whole lineup was amazing, and to me, that was their peak. Now, I do like some of Roger's solo stuff, and I do like some of the post Roger when he left, but it's not the same, man. It's just neither one were as great on their own as they were together, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of hardcore Pink Floyd, so if you want to burn me in effigy and throw stones at me, but sorry, man. That stuff doesn't speak to me like the Roger Waters and the Dave Gilmour stuff. Together. It's amazing.
Yeah, because there's always something missing to Roger Waters solo. There's something
big time. I mean, there's some stuff where I'm just like, huh? Okay, dude.
Being together. That's putting those two together.
Well, there's just certain. I mean, like, as much as I love McCartney's post Beatles stuff in Lennon's, it's still not as good as when they were together. I mean, it's great. I love it. I love George Harrison stuff too, but
there was just something magical when they were
together. I mean, there's just something that was just, I know some people go, oh, there's no magic. Oh, well, fuck you. Yeah, there is. It's called chemistry, and they had it.
Yeah. All right, Kate, what's your number 4?
So mine, I went with Moody Blues, Days of Future Past.
Ooh,
Great one.
great
Um,
one. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't think of that one. It's a great record.
it's a heavy hitter. This was a lot
Yeah.
harder.
That is
This
totally a definitely night album, though, man.
this was a lot harder for me than I expected because I didn't have much time. I wasn't feeling well, so I wasn't sure if I was going to come on. And I looked and I'm kind of thinking about it. And I'm like, what do I listen to a lot at night? And trying to narrow this down. And I'm like, damn, like Nights in White Satin is one of my go-to songs of chillin'. Like,
That's
what do I
definitely
want?
nice. That's definitely
You
a nice
guys
song, man.
know I'm a crazy like into psych, and that just like piques my, the whole like chillin' psych kind of vibe. And then
Yeah.
they have
Great
a
choice,
bunch of
Kate.
killer covers in this. They have a bunch of like all these different time, like sunset,
Yeah.
twilight time, and all those different things going on. And then Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. And yeah, I don't know. This just has so many different elements and different vibes to it too, but that like good chillin' nighttime, like how we how in my head when Andy mentioned this to me of picking this, I'm like, ooh, I totally know what you mean when you're saying this, like after dark albums.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is definitely high up there on my
Yeah, I kind of feel bad. It
go-to.
should have been on my list, but it's in my honorable mentions.
What I
But I
like
mean,
is that we all cover a lot of each other's stuff too. We end up like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, but you remembered that,
Yeah.
and
well,
we
that's
we
why I think we do this. Is
we
like,
fill
it's
in
like,
those
oh yeah,
gaps.
great, yeah, right, great pick, man. And yeah, I mean, Days of Future Past. What an
Oh man,
amazing album. My
yeah,
dad,
yeah.
my mom liked him too, but my dad loved the Moody
Oh,
Blues. So
so
I
good.
have a lot of
Yeah.
good memories of and that. I mean, the song White Nights in White Satin alone. Hello,
Oh my
you
god.
know,
If it
like
was just that song, the whole
right,
album, great. But just even that
yeah,
song, if I had to pick
yeah.
one song off this album, that's
Yeah,
probably in my top.
great band.
That might be in my like top 10 songs of all time in my head. All just go to songs. Never tire of songs, I should say. But yeah, thank you. That one just hit me and I was like, damn, that's really is a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice one, Kate. Nice one.
Thanks.
Oh,
Al.
Samuel Watts, man, in the comments saying that White Nights in White Satin is one of his all time favorite songs.
It's
So
amazing. It's a masterpiece. Like
yeah,
that album's a masterpiece, but that song alone is like,
Oh
yeah,
man.
great pick, man.
Yeah.
I almost want to punch myself for not. I'm like, fuck, man. Oh my god, because yeah,
No, we fill in each other's gaps. Don't do that to
that's
yourself.
why we do
We
this. Yeah.
that's what we
we
do.
fill in each other's gaps because there's a lot of stuff like this. Like I said, was a little bit harder for me than I expected.
Well,
And
you
I was
guys have
like,
been giving me kudos for a lot of my choices, so
we're gonna cover each
hey.
other's bases pretty well, I think.
Like Al's Black Sabbath choice, man. I have a particular
That
fondness for
one's
that
so
album
good. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Master Reality was the first Black Sabbath album I ever
Oh,
owned.
so good.
yeah,
That's a
So
tough call between the first one and that too. So that I
yeah.
think
I had trouble picking between the two, but ultimately I went with
I
Master
think
Reality. So
talent wise and how they're getting there, I do think that musically is the better album for sure. But yeah, that's a tough pick. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
yeah. So my number 4, man. Are you done, Kate? Okay. So my number 4, I'm gonna get romantic on your asses now. One of my all time favorite singers is Sade, and
oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm going with her. I'm going with her
Beautiful
debut album.
voice.
What a voice on her. And Diamond Life, her debut album, man. I got to go with that. Released in 1984. I mean, it opens up a Smooth Operator. I mean, I remember when I first heard that song, I'm like, who is this woman? Who is this woman? And her voice just it's just kind of like, wow, dude, like, and God, it's combined with that whole kind of jazzy pop kind of, instrumentation and it was just so. To me, it's like put this on with a nice candlelight, a nice glass of wine with your significant other or whatever, and things will happen. Listen to a Sade album. Things
One
will,
thing
will happen.
leads to another.
Yeah. So I mean, I got to go with her, man. It sounds amazing. Diamond Life, her debut, and she's a bucket list of mine. I've always wanted to see her live, and she just
Ooh,
hardly
yeah.
ever tours, man. You
Yeah.
know, but
She would be incredible, I'm sure.
and then I think she still looks the same too, but she doesn't age. So you
No,
know,
she has not. And is that the album that's got her other big hit, "Sweetest Taboo"? Is that the album?
no, that's I think Love. I think that might have been her second album.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a great song too.
yeah, it
I
is.
remember for the longest time I had her greatest hits, and I was like, I spun that so much. But as an album, though, this first album, I'll just you could pick. I could have really picked any of her albums really for nighttime. She's definitely a nighttime listening artist. So you know,
Hmm.
so yeah. So Diamond Life, Sade, number 4.
So good. That's a good one.
Good choice, bro. Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
you aren't lying though. Very eclectic, but I like it.
That was nice.
From Black Sabbath to black
Yeah,
metal to Gurren Bunche to Sade. I mean, it's crazy, man. But they're nighttime albums to me, man.
yeah, yeah, they are. My nighttime album, and the only time I really hear this album really is at night. And this album is the one that gave me this idea for this. Um,
Oh,
but
interesting.
my nighttime album, number 4, you would think it'd be number 1, but it's not. Number 4 is going to be Neil Young's "Tonight's the Night."
Yeah,
Great pick, man.
yeah.
This is such a harrowing, scary album. The lyrics are so troublesome and so depressing and so ugh. And
Again,
the
going back to my argument that you don't have to have heavy guitars to be heavy. I mean, Neil Young, man, you can sometimes you don't get any heavier than him, man.
yeah,
It's
Well, hey, Al, all the metal heads and even metal, hard rock, grunge guys, they all love Neil Young and
yeah,
respect
it's
him.
respect them,
Except for my stupid co-host of the Metal Mike show, but that's another story. Just like,
no, but this
dude.
has "Tonight's the Night." It bookends the album.
man. Yeah,
"Tonight's the Night" bookends it, and it goes on to "Borrowed Tune," which is a great song. I'm borrowing a song for the Rolling Stones because I'm too wasted to write my own. "Mellow My Mind." "Albuquerque" is a cool song. "Tired Eyes," that's a cool song. It's about a cocaine deal that's gone down wrong. Open up. I mean, just his voice is just so weary. And also, it harks back to this album was also dedicated to Danny Whitten, who had
yeah,
died a little bit before that, and also to one of their roadies called Bruce Berry, also died the same way. This is how this album starts off with Bruce Berry's name. Bruce Berry was a working man. He used to drive that Econoline van. So,
yeah.
"Tonight's the Night" by Neil Young.
Nice, man.
All right, number 3.
Before I get into that, yeah,
Yeah.
Bill, I love you. You're like a brother, man. My co-host, but you're wrong. Neil Young rules. All right, moving on. Yeah, number 3. Now this album was an album that very important record to me. Without this album, who knows? I may never become DJ Metal Mike, if you know what I mean. I might not become the metalhead that I became. And that's Kiss Alive, man. And to me, night, day, anytime. But this album, man, oh yeah. Even now, turn off the lights, throw on some incense, man. It's just a great album. And to me, it all crescends into Black Diamond. One thing I love about Kiss Alive is, don't get me wrong, I love the first 3 Kiss records. But this was the first Kiss album I heard. And I do remember my next door neighbor, he had the first 3 albums, but he had it when it was packaged as the originals, And I liked them, but I was like, whoa, this sounds different than it was like Eddie Kramer. I don't care what anybody says. Look, Bob Ezrin's a great producer, legendary producer, and I love Destroyer. Folks.
Eddie Kramer was the best.
Eddie Kramer was the best Kiss producer.
Kiss,
He was able to capture their sound, and all the Alive versions of these songs kick the ass of the studio versions. That's number one. And Black Diamond, to me, the reason why I love it so much is to me, that song, man, and that version, anybody who don't know Kiss and you would want here, listen to this. It just encapsulates everything that's great about the band. Everybody, this was when they were hungry at the top of their game. They're all firing on cylinders, man. It's just, yeah, it's amazing. The
Black
whole
Diamond.
album is.
Black Diamond is. I made a list of my top Kiss songs, and Black Diamond is my favorite Kiss song of all time.
Mine too, dude. Number one. It just, it has everything. It has everything.
Yeah, if I had one song I was gonna show somebody that didn't know anything about Kiss,
it's epic. It's just so epic, man. And even lyrically,
although I do love, and people like disagree with me on that, and I get it, man, but I do love the studio version. I love the way the ending.
Oh, I do too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disparaging the first three records. I love them albums, man. But man, the Alive version is just
the way they make the tape slow down on that debut.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
So ominous and like evil sounding.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah. It was cool. Yeah. I do think though that the first album would have been a lot better if Eddie Kramer had produced.
And he produced it.
You listen to those demos, man, and it's just like, again, no offense to the guy. It wasn't a shitty production. It wasn't, like when I hear
Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise.
Yeah, and they did Hotter Than Hell, and I love that record. I mean, Strange Ways, are you fucking kidding me? What a great song. And in my opinion, one of Ace's greatest guitar solos. He just let it rip on that one. Yeah. But yeah, Kiss Alive, it just, this album changed my life. I mean, before this, I listened to music, but it was music my parents played. I was listening to like a lot of literally audio dramas, kind of like the old radio shows, Spider-Man versus the Dragon Men, Spider-Man and the Mark of the Lamb, Power Records presents Batman, Robin meets Man-Bat, and Superman. And I love that stuff, because I loved, even then at an early age, I loved comic books, but I mean, Alive, that was the beginning. And without that and us driving my cousin Mitchell and Kevin crazy, I wouldn't have gotten introduced to Zeppelin and Sabbath and Ted Nugent and Aerosmith and Rush and AC/DC and all these, and Judas Priest and Alice Cooper and all these amazing artists and bands, as I've gotten older, I learned to appreciate other forms of music. And I have to credit that with my music appreciation class in middle school or junior high. Miss Miller, man, she went from the very beginning of recording history to what was contemporary, which was like 84, 85. So I'm like, that's when I realized, Elvis Presley's fucking awesome. Before that, I used to say stupid shit to my dad, like Elvis is a fucking, he's a dude, he's dork, dad. And my dad just looked at me and go, boy, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. But you got to remember, the Elvis I knew was the fat guy that did karate on stage. And I'm like, this guy's the king of rock and roll. I didn't realize, I didn't know. But when Miss Miller showed me all the old film footage of 55 Elvis and he's kicking ass, and then you got the 68 comeback special, are you fucking kidding me? That's when I was like, Elvis rules and Chuck Berry rules, and I fell in love with she's the reason I got into classical music, man. I mean, that class was awesome, and that's when I just realized excellent musician, it doesn't matter what genre it is. A great song is a great song. It doesn't matter, and it really opened up my eyes to where I'm like, wow, where I'm like, fuck you. I can like ABBA and like Slayer, bitches. I'm giving a crap, great music's great music. So anyway, I'm done with my tangent, but Kiss Alive is my number 3.
All right, Kate, let's go.
All right. I'm going to follow that. But I do think a great musician can transcend different genres. You can appreciate someone. And then my favorite Elvis song, honestly, is Fat Elvis doing Never Been to Spain, which is a Three Dog Night cover, but he absolutely kills it. Just bringing up Elvis, but whatever.
Hey, you know what? As I've gotten older, I appreciate Fat Elvis a lot. Well, I was a dumbass kid,
You're getting there.
My old man was just like, Boy, you have no idea what the
You
fuck you're
don't
talking
know.
about, you know?
Yeah. If you guys don't know it, check out Never Been to Spain, Elvis, Three Dog Night cover. But my number 3, I had to go with some old standard stuff. So I wanted to kill two birds with one stone and do Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong and
Oh,
their
nice.
album Ella and Louis that dropped in 1956, I want to say. Um, this is such a sweet, adorable. Their friendship was the cutest thing ever. It was one of the best musician friendships on the planet, and their voices lend each other, just belong together. They fit so well when they're doing things together. They both have a similar vibe and just being fun and happy, but these romantic songs are stunning. They do a bunch of like Gershwin, Irving Berlin, all these different things in this album, and it's just so wholesome. Like I don't know how else to describe it. It's wholesome. That's the best word I can think of in my lexicon to describe this.
Great pick. Great pick, man.
They're so good. Both of them are such powerhouses
Oh, yeah, and, Louis
individually.
Armstrong, I'm glad you mentioned him because one of the things that couple of years ago, we went on a epic vacation, which was a big deal to me because being the music lover I am, we went to New
Mhm.
Orleans for a week. We flew out
It's
there, and
the
we actually went to a
best.
bar a club that Louis used to perform in, and they were doing all his songs, and it
Oh
was
my
so
god.
cool. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I get to see the birthplace of jazz, and then we
Ah.
drove to Memphis, and I
And
got
he's
to
just
see
a
the
little poor kid,
birthplace of
like,
blues and rock and roll, and check out Sun Records
yeah,
and the Rock and Soul
yeah.
Museum. Oh, it was amazing, man.
Louis'
Stax Records.
story is
Oh,
incredible. He's just a little orphan adopted by a Jewish family, and Ella's story is incredible. Like, if think of like in the clubs back in the day when they wouldn't let black people in to perform, or it was all segregated audiences, like um my brain isn't working great today. I apologize. I'm sick. But
Right.
Marilyn Monroe was the one who put her foot down and was like, Ella's going to perform at this club, or I'm not going to perform at this club. So thank Marilyn Monroe for Ella Fitzgerald being as famous as she is. And there's just so many incredible stories from them. And New Orleans is definitely one of my favorite cities on the
it was
planet.
amazing. I had so
Yeah.
much fun, and
That's on my
me
bucket
being that I
list.
love history, and
Oh my God, Al,
you
Yeah.
gotta check it out, dude.
the food alone is worth the trip.
Yes.
But there's
Oh my
literally
god.
live music everywhere, every night,
Yes.
every bar on Bourbon. My favorite jazz club on the entire planet is in New Orleans, Frenchman Street. I could go on for 2 days about New Orleans, but it
Yeah,
is
and I mean, one of the things I loved about it too is we went on a cemetery tour and we went on a historical tour, and just the
ah,
stories and the history,
so
and
cool.
and the architecture. It's really cool,
They're
man. It's
stunning.
got a great vibe,
I love spooky shit. Like I said, I love all the spooky voodoo weird vibe that's
Right,
going on.
right.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
and that's
Pepper
really
Keenan, from Corrosion to Conformity and down, owns a bar there,
Oh, no
and they
way.
play all
I
kinds of
I didn't
music
know
and
that.
stuff.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I just saw them. They were with Melvins
Oh, the
and
Melvins, I love the
Ministry.
Melvins.
What a
Nice.
wild show. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
So
opened and then
COC?
Melvins and then Ministry.
Melvins?
Yeah.
Wow,
It was
Ministry is
wow.
cool.
probably
That's what that same tour. It was Corrosion,
yeah, yeah,
Conformity,
yeah.
the
That's what I
Melvins,
mean.
Well, I
Yeah.
and
envy you guys.
Yeah.
I've seen
Oh my
COC
god.
and I've seen the Melvins several times.
They're
I've
so good.
never seen
Yeah.
Ministry, man.
Corrosion's still good. Ministry was insane. It's one of the loudest shows I've ever seen. I saw Lemmy in September, right before he died, September of like 2015. It was outside at a festival and it was too loud. It was the loudest show I've ever seen, but Ministry is second by a smidge that it was too loud inside. It was insane.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy show.
awesome.
Awesome.
I don't know. I'll shut up. I'll go with your number 3.
What's your number 3, man?
number 3. Well, Metal Mike, he picked 2112 before, but to me, this is my nighttime rush album.
Oh,
Farewell,
great album, dude.
Farewell
Can't go
to Kings.
wrong.
Yeah.
Farewell to Kings. I mean, for me, opening up with the title track of Farewell to Kings, it's got that Renaissance kind of feel to it.
Love
And
it.
then
Love it.
Xanadu, just one of my favorite epics of all time. It's at nighttime when you're listening to that just takes you on a journey. And then ending off the album actually with Cygnus X1, you feel like you're going through space on air and going through a black hole.
Man, as far as I'm concerned, especially that era of the band, you really can't go wrong.
Yeah.
And
That was the golden
secondly,
period.
a lot of times, and I think we all do this. I mean, I sometimes, you got binge watching or binge reading. Well, I binge listen. I'll go on a deep dive and I'll listen to like several albums by a band or an artist in a row. And there's been many a time I've done that with Rush, so I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Ow.
Farewell to Kings, man, number 3. I'm not going to dwell on it, but that's my nighttime Rush album. Either that one or sometimes I think of Caress of Steel as a nighttime album as well.
I love Caress of Steel too, man.
So, but ultimately, Farewell to Kings, that's the one. Go ahead, Andy, number 3, brother.
Yeah, my number 3. This might wake you up in the middle of the night because it's a very great hard rock, heavy. Well, not even hard rock. It's a heavy metal album, and it's one of their best. And it's so good to hear this late at night. Stained Class by Judas Priest.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dude, that almost made my list.
My favorite Judas Priest album.
This is, it was between this one or Sad Wings of Destiny because of side 2, the Sad Wings. But this, from beginning to end, has that nighttime vibe to it.
Yeah.
Big time.
Just crushing guitars and just the way it starts.
I mean, come on, dude. Beyond the Realms of Death alone.
Yeah.
Need I say
more? Exciter. I mean, just a great bruising, blistering opener.
Yeah. My all-time favorite Judas Priest album.
That's mine too.
My number 1, yeah. Love it.
Yeah, that's my favorite by them too.
See, me and Metal Mike, man, we got a lot of things that count. Power Rage is our favorite. AC/DC, Stained Class. Damn it, get me on your show.
Okay, well, you know what? Well, we definitely need to have some of you guys on the plug once Bushy gets his internet thing situated, for sure.
Yeah, wasn't Bushy going to be on here tonight?
I had asked him, but he was working tonight.
Oh, okay.
So that's why he couldn't make it.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Great pick, man.
Metal Mike and Bushy on here.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That's 2 guests, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to get you 2 at the same time, and I can't.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out, man.
Yeah.
Is it my turn again?
Yeah, number 2, man.
Oh, nice. All right, man. This was one where I went back and forth. And I even changed it again just recently. So my number 2 is Black Sabbath, Sabotage. Master Reality is my all-time favorite Sabbath album. And yeah, it's a great nighttime album. But over the years, this is almost right there with it. And part of it's because, I mean, it's very much, this was when Sabbath was, obviously, I feel with Sabbath, like I do a lot of bands, that you have what you call sister albums. Like, to me, Black Sabbath 1 and Paranoid are very much sister albums. Master Reality, Volume 4, sister albums. And I think Sabbath and Sabotage are very much sister albums. And I mean, just the diversity in this album, and it's just so heavy. And I think Ozzy's vocals are just on another level with this record.
I think he's at his peak on this album, man.
Yes. And I mean, and also,
not to cut you off, man, but people say Ozzy, his range was limited. Listen, you try singing this stuff on Sabbath Plays Sabbath or Sabotage, and you tell me
try singing fucking Symptom of the Universe the way he did on that record,
exactly.
And then fucking get back to me. Yeah. I get tired of the, it's like ever since Ozzy did the reality show, it's like, oh, it's a really cool thing now to kind of bag on Ozzy. You know what? Yeah. Now that I've gotten older and wiser, Ozzy's an icon, okay? He could do whatever the fuck he wants, just like Elvis Presley did, and a lot of those guys before him.
He earned that, right?
It didn't matter. I was just too young to understand, but guys like that, they get to a level where they can do whatever they want, and it doesn't change anything, okay? And Ozzy, in my opinion, is one of those guys. And another thing that I really hate sometimes is how they always point, Ozzy doesn't write his lyrics. Don Airey just corrected a while back Eddie Trunk and said, yeah, he does. Like, there's this misconception that Ozzy, yes, Geezer wrote a lot of the lyrics to Black Sabbath. Yes, Bob Daisley helped Ozzy write a lot of the lyrics. Nobody's debating that. But Ozzy writes his own lyrics too. Most of the time, Ozzy's lyrics are very metaphorical, like Denial off of Osmosis. Those are all Ozzy's lyrics, man, you know, which are weird. I like to live inside my pocket with all my plastic change. Makes no sense. And he even said that he was channeling his inner John Lennon when he wrote that. The Writ, Ozzy wrote those lyrics, you know, like because he got tired of they're getting literally served with papers because they were trying to change management and all these lawsuits and counter lawsuits. It's one of the reasons why the band broke up, because they tried very badly to manage themselves. And like Ozzy said, you know, we couldn't ourselves out of a paper bag.
Hey, that wasn't his fault. He was jacked up. His doctor was giving him the wrong drugs.
No, but he even said flat out, you know, and I'm not putting Sabbath down because it's only now I realize what an influence we had on music today.
Crazy.
But he was
influence.
basically saying that, you know, they tried, and he goes, Geezer had a bit of an idea. He goes, but we didn't have a fucking clue, you know, and because of all that extra pressure, it caused a lot of conflict within the band. And Ozzy is a big believer in thinking that's why tensions got so high, because, you know, they were getting ripped off royally by Patrick Meehan, but they couldn't, you know, and it wasn't until, you know, and I know some people, again, I know Sharon does some controversial things. There's things she's done that bothers me too, but you know, people have to realize something.
If it wasn't for her, man,
Ozzy wouldn't look. We wouldn't be talking about Ozzy. We'd be talking about Black Sabbath and man, whatever happened to that original. Oh, and it's so sad that he fucking died in a hotel and OD'd. I mean, not only that, she introduced RJD to Sabbath.
Yep.
Without that, you don't get the. I mean, to me, that breakup was a good thing. Us fans won because we got 4 amazing records from it. We got freaking Blizzard of Oz and Diary of Madman. And Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, man. I mean, hello, you know, like to me, it was like, I mean, I kind of was hoping for the same thing with Van Halen when David Lee Roth put out Eat 'Em and Smile. And then I heard 5150 and went, ugh. And I was a guy who living in the St. Louis area. I like Sammy Hagar. I love his stuff with Montrose and I like a lot of his solo stuff, but I was very disappointed with Van Hagar. Again, neither here nor there, but yeah, to me, it's just Ozzy, man. I mean, he's the shit, and I get tired of people ragging on him, man. And yes, Dio is technically a better vocalist. Nobody's arguing. Ozzy wouldn't even argue with it, but Ozzy's a great vocalist in his own right. Lita Ford even said when they collaborated on "Close My Eyes Together," which, by the way, Ozzy wrote the lyrics to that song too, because him and Sharon were having a lot of problems at the time. She said his voice, like she goes, I'm standing next to him and his voice about knocked me over. Ozzy's got a powerful voice in his own right. And both of them are great. Again, gun to head, I'm going to pick Ozzy, but I love Dio, man. And I don't understand hey, let's disparage one to elevate the other. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here with all that. You
could just
man.
Enjoy them both.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing with Iron Maiden. Shut up. Diano was great, and so's Dickinson, man.
Yeah, exactly. Just stop it.
They both have their place.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, I again went off on another tangent. Sorry, guys.
All right, Kate, what's your number 2?
I want to shout out Geezer Butler for Changes, though. He wrote the lyrics for that, and the Charles Bradley cover. If you guys want to check out
it's amazing.
Murderous Soul cover, Charles Bradley doing Changes. Oh my god. My number 2. So I'm going real random. I have a major love for Django Reinhardt. Incredible.
Who influenced Tony Iommi?
Yeah. Someone also who was injured, and Tony Iommi had his finger cut off in the accident. Yeah. And Django Reinhardt it's not PC to say gypsy, but they were traveling people, and he was injured in a fire, and that's why his hand is all funky, and he's got the 2-finger guitar style because his 2 fingers were damaged. So influencing Tony Iommi and his own specific little slice of jazz and jazz guitar. Incredible guitar player. Stefan Grappelli, another French dude that played violin and that for him. I mean, they're just incredible together. But Django Reinhardt, if I had to pick an album, I'm going with Nuage, and that means clouds. Um, he has this song that's not on that album, but I want to shout out this song. It's called I'll See You in My Dreams. But all his other hits are on Nuage. So I have to go with Nuage, but if you're going to check out a song, um, Major Swing, I'll See You in My Dreams, like, he has a bunch of hits. So if you did one of his compilations, I think you'd be happy. But if you don't know him, he is absolutely incredible. Such a huge influence on a ton of different guitar players, including metal guitar players like Tony Iommi. Yeah, Django is the man, so it's worth checking him out.
Awesome.
Belgian descent, traveled, like I said, a traveling family, went to France, chilled a long time in France. So it's a huge influence in the French jazz scene, and him and Stefan Grappelli in that. So I digress. I will let Al do his number 2.
My number 2, man, I'm going with Animals by Pink Floyd. I've always considered that my favorite. That's my favorite Pink Floyd album, actually, and it's such a nighttime album to me. Man, I could put that on at night and just really kind of just very vibe to it. And I mean, it's to me, it's amazing. There's no burnout factor with that album because there was really no hits on it. So radio didn't really play anything from that album to death. So I could still always listen to that with fresh ears whenever I put it on.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically, it's 3 songs, and they're all epic.
But it's amazing, so epic.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, Roger Waters', vision of, Animal Farm, basically took that, made it into an album, and there's a lot of metaphors on here. It could be a political metaphors, and all sorts of. I mean, just Roger Waters was a genius lyricist, man. You got to give him that. Just the way.
I mean, Animal Farm was a political allegory to the Soviet, the Russian Revolution.
Yeah.
Essentially. So, yeah.
I remember reading that when I was in school.
Me too, dude. I
literally quoted it earlier at work that I'm like, all are equal, but some more equal than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could put that on, man. Put the lava lamps on at night and just
Hell
put
yeah.
that on and just
great pick, Al.
Yeah, my favorite people. That's my number 2.
This last year, I got to see Les Claypool's Flying Frog Brigade do that.
Yeah.
And the regular guitarist, I think he had to have surgery or something. He wasn't at the Detroit date. And it was freaking Sean Lennon. And holy crap, dude. The place we were at is the Masonic Temple.
Wow.
And the Masonic Temple here is huge. The venue for that, their big room is gigantic. And everyone, because weed is legal in Michigan, which I don't partake, I get too fucked up if something's wrong, I'm allergic or something. The contact buzz, I couldn't even walk out of this place.
Wow.
I guess it set the vibe even better, that the background visuals and stuff they were doing that went along with it. But I'm like, if you could see Flying Frog Brigade do Animals all the way through, which they're still doing that tour, I think that.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
I think awesome.
we're gonna go see that. Me and my co-host, my buddy Bill, and
do it.
I saw Les also. Well, the Claypool Lennon Delirium, which was amazing.
That's incredible. Seeing Sean, and he's like this facsimile of John, where he's just John but shorter. It is messes with your head. It's wild.
Yeah, it does.
His
but
syntax,
man, they were great.
Yeah, his everything about him. It is so wild how it's John, but the buddyship where they have that father-son buddyhood going on, incredible. Him and Les together is the sweetest thing. He calls him Shiner. I'm gonna let Andy do. Andy's got to do his number 2.
Yeah, my number 2, and thanks a lot, Samuel Wetz, who was saying a great show so far. And thank you so much. My number 2, we've talked about this band already a couple of times, but we've chosen different albums. But I'm going to go with their debut.
Yeah,
Black Sabbath.
It's got that atmosphere, man.
It really does have that spooky atmosphere to it. You play it, you got a dark inside with a little lamp or just something on, and it's just a really good album to listen to. Again, side two has that vibe of just zoning out, and it's got that feel. All right, guys, here we are. Number one album,
Numero
number one
uno.
nighttime album. Go, Mike.
All right. Before I do that, though, just to kind of tack on to what Katie mentioned about changes, I agree with everything you said. But one thing we were talking about Ozzy not being appreciated as a vocalist, I think that recording on Volume 4 is one of
Yeah.
his greatest
Yeah,
vocal
yeah, yeah,
performances.
yeah.
I mean, you feel
Yeah.
it. You feel it.
That
Um,
vibe is definitely there
but
for
When
sure.
Ozzy,
speaking of
the,
Ozzy,
yeah,
uh,
Ozzy. When Ozzy sang, and it was pain in his voice, you felt it, man. It
oh
was,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, for sure.
It was
And
the performance of it. It was just great.
yeah, he just sells it completely.
Yeah.
And uh, Diary of a Madman, Ozzy Osbourne, my number one. I mean, you want to talk
wow,
about atmosphere, you want to talk
Yeah.
about just as much as I love
favorite
Blizzard,
Ozzy album of
do,
all time.
I mean that's Ozzy's masterpiece in my opinion. This right here, Blizzard by a pubic hair. Take off No Bone Movies and put Better by You. Better, yeah. What is that? Oh, what's that song?
Me looking at you, looking
Me
at me.
looking at you, looking at me, and I think Blizzard is it's a almost a perfect album. I don't hate No Bone Movies, but it's
No
just
Bull Movies is horrible. It's a
yeah, it's not
horrible
that
song.
great a song. It's
No,
like
it's not.
the
It's
guitar
bad.
solo is pretty sweet, but
Yeah, but
it's
that
like,
song is
but
bad.
they recover with Revelation Mother Earth. And
Oh
Still
yeah,
Alive.
they sure do.
Man,
Yeah.
that's a great album too. I'm not disparage Blizzard at all, but for me, for my money, Diary, man, especially the title track. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? It has everything. I mean, you got Ozzy, you got Randy, you got Lee and Bob. I mean, just a great lineup, amazing band. Um, just a phenomenal album. It is a masterpiece. And I don't think Ozzy's ever topped it,
Oh yeah.
in my opinion. So,
You're right about
Yeah,
that.
just
I agree.
phenomenal album.
I agree 100%.
I mean, and not only maybe my top 10 number one. This might be one of my desert island albums. I mean, I just don't even know if I could live without this record. That's how
No,
much
I
I
couldn't.
love
I couldn't.
it. There you go.
Great album.
Kate?
Numero uno.
Numero uno. This was a real tough call, but I was trying to think when I put these all in order out of my 10 that what album have I listened to the most and what album would I go to? You know, if it was a go to album, I went with Hosier, the self titled, which unfortunately this album gets dismissed as chick music a lot because his hit off of this was Take Me to Church, which I feel like is probably the not it's a bad song. I
I
think
like
it's a
that song though.
great
Yeah.
song. But comparing it to the rest of the stuff on this is definitely low on the list on my picking the order of how the songs are.
Oh wow.
So I've seen this dude a couple times. He's a little baby. I think the first time I saw him, he was like 24. I saw him at Austin City Limits like a decade ago. Incredible. He knows blues music. He just can rip out a couple different Skip James songs. Like, great talent, stunning vocals. His voice is like one of those silky, beautiful voices that he just has that natural um I don't know how I want to phrase it, but just an incredible voice. And it gets dismissed as chick music because that song, which I like that song, but there's
Yeah.
so many other songs on this album that are incredible. And he has this one that's a duet. It's called In a Week, and it's him and this broad Karen
Alright,
Cowley, which he's Irish. She's Irish. Uh, that song is I can't I can't articulate how I feel about that song because it's about a couple like dying in a field together, which is actually based off a true story because there was some random field in Ireland that this couple, like a set of skeletons, is found holding hands
Hmm.
in this field. And so not only is it based off a true story, but you guys would have to listen to it. And maybe I've listened to it a couple times on some altering substances and it hits at a different level. And he has this other one that's like It Will Come Back. and it's like you'll find me howling at your door, and when he does this howling thing and I'm like, oh, it like gives me chills. I literally get goosebumps. This dude's voice is so good. So I had to pick this because when this dropped in 2014, I probably played this to like nauseum of my poor fiance. He tolerated it, but he was probably real sick of it. But he did end up seeing him with me. He saw him at Austin City Limits, and he's like, "Yeah, that guy's pretty good." So I highly recommend people check it out for the rest of the songs and not just discredit it as chick music, because I am not a chick music person, as you guys know.
No.
Definitely not that person. But yeah, this kid is so incredible, and in his breadth of knowledge of old American blues, where he can play. Like I said, the last time I saw him, he just drops 2 Skip James songs and like killing Fleur Blues and that, and it's like, what? Like, you don't expect it, and he's so good, and his voice is absolutely incredible. So highly recommend checking out that album, and I will stop talking so Al can do his number one.
So Hosier, right? That's
Hosier, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Hozier,
Yeah.
Hosier.
What's the album?
Self-titled.
Okay.
So what's a bummer is the second one, I was pissed because the second one dropped and they overproduced it. And it's like when you have somebody who's great at guitar and he has an incredible voice, you don't need a bunch of production bullshit. So the second one, do not listen to that.
Yeah.
Listen to this self-title. His mom is an artist, and his mom did the cover art for the album, which I think
Oh,
is really
okay.
interesting. Um,
That's cool.
the self-title, check that one out. That one's really good.
All right. All right. Well, my number one, and I've covered a lot of different spectrums of music and stuff, and but there's just one style of music that just lends itself to evening and nighttime, and you know, my brother brought me up on hard rock and rock and roll and even some heavy metal when I was younger, and then he got married, moved out and stuff, and eventually I got a job working with him. So when I went to the job and we were in the office, I noticed that he played a lot of jazz. He became really a big jazz head, and which was, and he introduced me to a lot of like different stuff. And I got to tell you, man, when he introduced me to this album and I listened to it, I just completely like changed my outlook on jazz. Because when you're a kid, it's like you don't want to listen to jazz, man. It's kind of like you're a metalhead, you're this and that. But then when you hear like your heroes in bands and stuff, and they're talking about like what's influenced them, and Sabbath was influenced by jazz. To me, they were like a jazz metal band. I mean, their roots come from a lot of jazz. But my number one nighttime album, when you throw this on at night, Miles Davis, Kind of Blue, it's just completely takes you somewhere else. And I mean, it's Miles Davis. You got John Coltrane on here. You got Bill Evans on here. I mean, you have like the heavyweights of jazz music. And Miles
Murderers
Davis.
Row, really.
Yeah, Miles Davis was the king. He was the top dog. He was like he gave a lot of people careers, man. They branched off and had their own amazing careers. I mean, John Coltrane, I could have easily picked the John Coltrane album too, but this one I got to pick the king, man. Miles Davis.
The
You put
birth
this
of
on,
cool.
at night, and you can just envision yourself in a little
Uh-huh.
small smoky club at night, man. Like in the middle of New Orleans somewhere. And I think it's the ultimate, man. To me, jazz is like nighttime music.
Hell
So,
yeah,
Oh, for
dude.
sure.
and I love jazz, man. A lot of people don't know it, man, but I do, man. I'll throw on nice jazz album at night, man. And just fucking, it just takes me. It's the musicianship is just on a whole other level. I mean, really, so. But Miles Davis, man, Kind of Blue. That's my number one, man. I got to pick that as my number one. So,
Yeah, check that
and
out.
again, thanking my older brother Paul, because I mean, we sat around that office, man. And he introduced me. He was like, it was a great jazz station. It wasn't like we played a lot more underground jazz, like the real jazz, not the like the smooth jazz kind of stuff. Which some of it's good too, But when you're talking about like Miles Davis, man, it's like, Bitches Brew could have been another one too, but that goes into a zone of, fusion and all that stuff. To me, this is like, a nice late night, you have a nice drink and, have a nice smoke. And, I used to smoke cigarettes and, I don't smoke anymore, but I would listen to Miles Davis and, smoke is probably what kind of killed him anyway. That and heroin, you know what I mean?
Heroin.
So anyway, that's my number one. Andy, go ahead, man. Take it away, man.
Yeah, my number one. I don't have the cover to it because it's in the car. Because I've been listening to this album before I got into Kill 'Em All. I was listening to this album last week, so it's in the car, and it made it my number one for nighttime albums. Alice in Chains' "Dirt."
Oh wow!
Ooh,
That's
nice.
my number
That's a
one
moody
late
one.
night album. That album is so scary, and the vocals are so harrowing, and the guitars are just amazing on that album. It's just a great album from beginning to end. Next thing you know, you're already past the 50-minute mark, and I didn't even know that it was that long.
Yeah.
It's a very great album, and that made it as my nighttime album to put on. It's it's a great album, and I love it.
It's a masterpiece, man.
But that one I can hear during the day, but at nighttime it's got a different vibe to it. It's got a different feel to it when the house is dark and it's late night. It's like 1 o'clock. The family's asleep, and you just throw it on, and a little bit louder than it should be for that time of night. But man, it feels great. So that's our list. We had a big time list of jazz and country and metal and doom metal and 70s pop rock. Such great times.
Does
So
anybody have any honorables, man? They want to run through or not?
yeah. I was just about to go. Let's
All
go
right,
through
cool.
our honorables. Go for it, Mike.
Okay, my honorable mentions: Beatles, the White Album, Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers,
Nice.
Slayer, Rain in Blood. You can't
Wow.
get any more evil or ominous at night than that. Van Halen, Women and Children First, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars by David Bowie, Metallica's Master of Puppets, Megadeth, Peace Sells, but Who's Buying, Alice in Chains, Dirt, Willie Nelson, The Red-Headed Stranger.
Oh,
That was
yeah,
my mom's
good one.
favorite album, and she used to play it all the time, and she always played it at night. So Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power, Down, Nola, Ace Frehley's 78 solo album, The Cars, Candy O, Tool, Inema, King Diamond, Them. I mean, you want to talk about it? That could have easily made my list. That man, such a creepy, evil, atmospheric album. Judas Priest, Stained Class, and Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath.
Nice. Great list.
Thanks, man.
Very nice.
Mostly hard rock and metal, but I threw a few curveball in there.
Go ahead, Kate. You got any?
Yeah, Miles Davis was on my list, so I'm glad you covered it because that kind of blew. Spain is great too.
Yeah.
Covering more jazz, I have to shout out Dave Brubeck, Time Out.
Oh yeah.
Take 5. Come on, 1959. He is absolutely incredible. I was lucky enough to see him twice when he was still alive at the Jazz Fest, which is
that's awesome.
Detroit's Jazz Fest during Labor Day weekend is completely free, and you could see somebody like Dave Brubeck for free.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And he was like 95 the last time I saw him. Absolutely amazing.
Wow.
He killed it. His whole family is with him, and he's just still rocking the piano. Van Morrison, Moondance. I had to shout
nice
that out.
one.
Good one.
Good
that
one,
out.
Katie.
That was hard to bump off my top 10, but that I had to shout out.
I need to smack myself. That should have at least been in my honorable mentions.
There's a few songs that are a little more hype than my chill nighttime vibe, but Moondance,
I love Moondance.
Great. His voice too. I mean, I love him. He's a real piece of work from everyone I've ever talked to that's in the industry, but phenomenal. Jeff Buckley, Grace. I had to call this one out. Just If Not Alone doing Hallelujah, and sad somebody was gone too soon too, but his 1994 album Grace,
Really his only album,
basically,
Yeah.
sorry guys, I had
Yeah.
that live from Senny, that like big box set.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god, that is stunning. Um Speaking of Hallelujah though, I gotta shout out Leonard Cohen. Songs of Love and Hate, Songs of Leonard Cohen, Suzanne, and Famous Blue Raincoat are two of my favorite songs of his of all time. Um, his Hallelujah is like one of the most covered songs of all time. So thinking of that picking the Jeff Buckley one and then leading back to Leonard Cohen, where I'm like, Leonard Cohen is the perfect smoky at night, you're having cigs, drinking in the dark kind of voice. So I have to shout him out. I want to shout out Tom Waits, Nighthawks of the Diner, or Rain Dogs. I couldn't decide, so I'm just shouting out Tom Waits. I had to pick a spooky one. I had to go Danzig. I was trying to decide Misfits, Danzig. I got to go Danzig, 1988 Danzig
Oh, the
self-titled.
debut. The debut,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
That's a great pick.
That's mine. I think I'm done. I'm just rambling. What are yours, Al?
I have just a few. Steely Dan's Asia. Great album.
Yeah.
I always consider that a nighttime album. The Police, Ghost in the Machine. That's my favorite Police album. And I always consider that kind of like, I would listen to that at night. It's kind of like pretty dark and deep themes on that, man. So I think that's the Police at their darkest, to be honest with you. Vangelis, the Blade Runner soundtrack. Blade Runner's my favorite movie one of my favorite movies of all time, and the soundtrack to that by Vangelis is just incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, listen to that at night, man. The Doors debut. I know Andy picked LA Woman. I went with the debut. Just listen to the end on that album. In the dark at night. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, really.
Yeah, LA Woman, great record, man. But so is the first one. I mean,
yeah,
can't go wrong.
Kraftwerk, Trans Europe Express. Kraftwerk, very innovative and electronic, very ambient, very cool album. And I'll go a little hip hop too. A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. I think that's a great album, and that's a hip hop band that combined jazz with hip hop. They were very jazzy, so to me that lends itself well at nighttime. So those are just a couple of honorables that I got. So Andy, if you want to throw some out.
Yeah. Lately, for the past 2 or 3 months, I've been getting into jazz rock fusion, and I've got a couple of those albums that I'm going to share. The Stanley Clarke one, great bass player, and really has some really good guitar players with him on this one. Also, the Manhabishu Orchestra, John McLaughlin, the Inner Morning Flame, a really good one too. This was already spoken about by Metal Mike, but Fleetwood Mac Rumors, is on there as well. I saw Uriah Heep last week with our great friend Brad Dahl and his son, and I'm going. It was Saxon Uriah Heep, but for Uriah Heep, I'm going with Salisbury for a late night album.
Cool. How was the show, man?
Oh, the show was great, man.
It was
really good. Saxon,
so it's Uriah Heep and Saxon, right?
Yeah.
Man,
Saxon opened and Uriah Heep closed.
Yeah.
Nice.
Uriah Heep only has the one member, Mick Box.
Yeah, it's the only original guy left.
But the keyboardist is Adam Wakeman, which is
cool.
What's his name's son?
Yeah,
Rick Wakeman's son.
Yeah,
Rick Wakeman's son.
Yeah.
So I was trying to pick which Uriah Heep I was going to go with, Demons and Wizards, but I went with Salisbury. That Demon album cover is freaky, and it's got Woman in Black on here, which is really good. And I know that Metal Mike also went with Hotel California, but I went with Long Run as a nighttime album for them.
Nice.
Yeah,
both those are good. Yeah, both those are good picks.
The I Can't Tell You Why in the City. It's got that weird vibe. Also, when I was younger, I never.
Doesn't that have the Sad Cafe on there too?
Yeah. Sad Cafe on there, and those shoes. Heartache Tonight.
Yeah.
That's a great record, man.
Yeah, it's a really good record, but it wasn't. But because of Hotel California, they thought, critics thought that this was a step down. Well, you're not going to do better than Hotel California. You're just not.
Yeah.
You are going to make a good album, and that's
Still a great album in its own right, man.
yeah, exactly. If it was a standalone, it'd be a great album.
You're right. Another great choice, man.
Yeah, thank you. So we all had great choices. I hope everyone that watched wrote down these great albums. I know I was writing things down and putting things on.
I'm posting my list on my group though. So
I'll post my list on Spinner.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you. And if you want to do the same thing, Mike, you can put it up on Spinner.
Okay.
I'll probably put mine on there as well. But thank you so much, guys, for being here. Thank you for dedicating your time to being on here. Kate,
hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, I'm always happy to be on. I'm glad it worked out.
Thanks. And we'll be back next week. It'll be Al's turn to host. And
next week is next Wednesday is actually my birthday.
Oh,
happy
nice.
birthday, brother.
Thank you. And I got something cooking up, and we'll have a really cool show. I think I might have to do with the number 6.
Okay.
Al's birthday bonanza.
We're in the 6th month of the year now, and I might have to do it with something 6. It might be evil, it might not be. Who knows?
But do you want to keep it on Wednesday, or do you want to do?
Oh yeah, no, man, we'll do it on my birthday.
Okay, all right.
Somebody bring the cake.
I'll put it in the mail. It'll get there by then.
All right.
Well,
now we'll do it, man.
Guys. We will see y'all next week.
All right, man. And hey, anytime you need me, man, just let me know.
Always, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all, guys.
Take care,
Peace out, guys. Have
Love
a great
you guys.
night.
Take care. Good
Love
show.
you guys. Bye-bye. Cheers.
Thank y'all for making it a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Cheers, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.